Reverend Insanity Blood Venerable Ascension by Creed Follower Chapter 21-40. As the first light broke on a cold, snowy morning in the hills and valleys of the untamed wilderness of Mount Longwashan, the landscape took on a desolate and lifeless feel. Yet amidst these vast expanses of untouched nature, 3 points shone like strong beacons of human civilization: the Heian, Fengji, and Xianxia clans. The sun's rays cast a golden glow upon the snow-covered peaks, illuminating the rugged terrain below. Trees stood tall and bare, their branches weighed down by the weight of the freshly fallen snow. In the distance, a herd of deer could be seen, their breath forming clouds in the crisp morning air as they grazed on patches of grass peeking through the white blanket. In the Fengji clan, within a modest home for the level of a Gu master but far better than what an ordinary mortal could have even after a lifetime of hard work, a young Gu master of merely 18 years old went about his morning routine sleepily. His name was Fengji Gce. He had to prepare for a patrol mission on the front lines of the war that his team had recently accepted. This mission was quite dangerous for him, despite having 2 years of practical experience as a Gu master. He was still only a rank 1 upper stage, and AC grade with 40% primeval essence. Of course, this wasn't his first mission on the front lines of the war, and he prayed it wouldn't be his last. But he knew from his various experiences in the war that death came swiftly and suddenly, without warning anyone of its arrival. After this mission, I should have enough money to buy the wind step Gu. Talking to himself was a habit he had since childhood, which only grew stronger after he left his parents' home. He came from a normal Gu master family, with his father being a rank 2 initial stage Gu master and his mother a rank 1 middle stage Gu master. So, he had a relatively wealthy upbringing due to his father's status. But since his father died in the war 3 years ago, his life had become much more difficult. His mother remarried and was living with her new husband, trying to start a new life with him. Since Gce didn't get along with his stepfather, once he reached adulthood, he took his inheritance from his father and moved out to live on his own. Gce left his house, heading towards the designated meeting place determined by the leader of his team. "Good morning, Miss Xing. Is Brother Zhe feeling better?" He encountered on the way the grandmother of one of his friends who was heading towards the food market. "Good morning, little Ce. And you know how he is, a lazy scoundrel. I even suspect this illness is just an excuse for him to lie in bed all day doing nothing." Gce chuckled awkwardly and nodded. He clearly knew his friend was just hungover from how much he drank yesterday, but he wasn't going to reveal that to his friend's grandmother. "Gce, you're early today. Anything special happened?" A 21-year-old girl who also belonged to Gce's team asked with a curious look. "Oh, nothing much, Lin Shi. I just wanted to arrive early today." He had a great love for her and regularly thought about how to ask her out, but his fear of rejection always prevented him from taking any action. "Really? Are you hiding something from me? You always arrive late, but today you're acting responsible." She teased him, knowing he had a hidden motive for arriving early, which was to spend some time alone with her while they waited for their teammates to arrive. I guess I want to be a more responsible person from now on. Does that count?" He thought of any excuse to answer her question before starting to converse casually with Lin Shi while they waited for everyone to arrive. Gradually, their teammates arrived, making them 8 in total. Okay, now that everyone has memorized the action plan for this mission, we can leave," the team leader Yu Zhang declared before they set out from the clan for their patrol mission. Gce partially knew the information about the mission since Yu Zhang, the team leader, was a close friend of his father and was the person who helped him the most after his father died. The reason the rest of the group, aside from the leader, only learned the exact mission details now was to prevent leaks due to spies infiltrating the clan or the carelessness of the Gu masters, which could lead to mission information leakage. But before they could leave, another group of Gu masters from the Fengji clan came to talk to them, which was normal. However, after seeing the identity of the Gu masters who came to speak with them, Gce couldn't hide the shock from his face. "Piercer of the heavens," Gce thought to himself as he glanced at one of the most famous rank 2 Gu masters of the clan, who led one of the 3 strongest Gu master teams in the current Fengji clan. "So, are they going to patrol the area near ours? That's truly spectacular." He overheard the conversation between the Piercer of the Heavens and the leader of his team, who was acting in the most polite manner GCE had ever seen in his life, which was not surprising, knowing that he was speaking to the publicly recognized strongest rank 2 of the clan. But shortly after the two team leaders finished their brief conversation, which was more of an exchange of information, they left to carry out their patrols, moving out of each other's sight. There's a small-scale group of wolves northwest at 100 meters from us, and a large-scale group of deer 70 meters to the east. The team's investigating GU master provided constant information so they could patrol without unnecessarily running into a group of beasts. Let's continue on the planned route for another 50 meters, then we'll AHRG. But before Yu Zhang could finish his words, he was suddenly attacked as his team fell into an ambush set up by the Heian clan. Before Yu Zhang could do or say anything, the person who attacked him made 3 consecutive cuts that instantly destroyed the crystal armor around him with just one cut, causing the other 2 to fall directly onto Yu Zhang's body. With 2 clean cuts from a sword made of blood, GCE saw a rank 2 initial stage GU master he admired and was deeply grateful for being easily cut into 4 parts as if he were butter. Mortal killer move, bloody sword killer cut. It was the only thing GCE heard before the person, who was moving too fast for his eyes to track, appeared in front of the vice leader of the team and cut him in half with just one attack, thus killing a rank 1 peak stage GU master as if he were nothing. But GCE didn't have time to mourn the death of his teammates because he quickly saw a man with a face like that of a bat advancing towards him with a fierce, murderous intent. GCE didn't think twice before retreating with all the strength he had in his body without even looking back or thinking twice about his teammates who were also under attack by the GU masters who ambushed them. AHRG, someone help. Lin Shi cried out in despair as she was restrained by vines tightly wrapped around her body, preventing her from moving. GCE didn't look back, although he knew the reason for the desperate cry from the girl he loved because female GU masters who were captured alive often had a fate far worse than death. "I'm sorry, I swear I'll avenge you one day," he shouted in his mind as tears fell from his eyes, but even so, he didn't go back to save her. In the end his own life was more important. When he finally saw the light of hope to escape with his life, he heard a loud roar as a tall, strong man advanced towards him with the fury of a tiger. But just as this man was about to crush his head with a punch, he felt a strong gust of wind coming towards him as a spear of air flew towards the man who was about to kill him. The man was thrown back by the surprise attack that saved GC's life. "You GU masters of the Heian clan really have lost your sense of danger attacking my Feng Ji clan members under my watch." The one who uttered these words was none other than the legendary Piercer of the Heavens. Chen Ming. "It seems like it's my lucky day today. Since Ma Jie's death, I've been wanting to settle the score with you." Piercer of the Heavens spoke after uncovering the identity of his enemies when the disguise GU effect they used to set up the ambush wore off. As he looked into Chen Ming's eyes, he harbored the deepest hatred, to the extent that if looks could kill, Chen Ming would have died multiple times over. "Ah, Louis, did you like the present my clan sent? It was my personal idea." Chen Wei, hearing the exchange between the two, knows exactly what this present Chen Ming refers to: the decapitated head of Ma Jie, one of Piercer of the Heavens' closest friends. Louis stared at Chen Ming with even greater hatred but said nothing. He knew well that this was an attempt to provoke him into making a foolish decision that could lead to even more deaths on his side. A strong wind in the form of a spear quickly headed towards Chen Ming and his team, piercing everything in its path but stopped by a large tsunami that appeared in front of Chen Ming, defending his team. Truly worthy of the title Furious Tsunami, Chen Ming, but that won't be enough to stop my vengeance," Louis declared as he advanced towards Chen Ming with all his strength and fury. Thus, the battle quickly shifted from a war of words and stares to a physical and brutal conflict in just a moment. Chen Wei found himself facing a rank 2 middle stage GU master who was also a cultivator of the wind path but seemed more focused on restraining the opponent than attacking. "Something's suspicious. I can't let my guard down." Chen Wei was sure that Louis knew who he was, yet he still sent a GU master who, despite being at rank 2 middle stage, had only shown mediocre combat skills so far. This must be a trap, with this GU master hiding his true strength to catch the inexperienced Chen Wei off guard when he lowered his guard due to his overconfidence in easily defeating someone a small realm above him. Meanwhile, Chen Ming and Louis' battle was leaning towards the latter. Damn it, despite getting stronger since last time, I'm still a realm weaker than Lu Wei. Chen Ming gritted his teeth as he began to struggle to maintain the gap between them until reinforcements from his side arrived. But suddenly, he saw Lu Wei use the attack that made him famous and earned him his current title. Mortal Killer Move, Wind that Pierces the Heavens. At a terrifying speed, the attack was unleashed, but instead of heading towards Chen Ming, it actually struck Chen Wei, catching Chen Ming by surprise. Damn it! Chen Wei, watch out! It's not like he wasn't keeping an eye on his brother while fighting, he genuinely was. However, the attention he gave was minimal, as in a battle of experts, any slight weakness would be exploited by the enemy, leading to defeat. But to his luck, Chen Wei had already suspected a possible trap, so he instinctively used the Bloodthirst Rush GU to dodge the attack. But shortly after using the GU, he felt a strong gust of wind around him, restricting his movement. Fuck. Chen Wei saw the GU master he was fighting with a sneer on his face as he held both hands up in the air towards Chen Wei, using his GU to restrain him. In a few moments, Chen Wei stopped trying to escape and activated the Blood Shield GU to create as many shields as possible between him and the killer move coming his way, piercing everything in its path. The killer move instantly shattered the mere 2 shields Chen Wei had time to create before colliding with the blood armor around Chen Wei, which lasted a considerable amount of time, enough for his brother to save him if he wasn't currently engaged in a fierce battle against Lu Wei to help Chen Wei. So be it, I will survive in the end. Chen Wei mentally shouted as he watched the blood armor being pierced and the killer move hitting his skin. AHRG. Despite the killer move having its strength diminished because of the blood armor, it still caused serious damage to Chen Wei's abdomen, which was pierced. But even despite the brutality and strength of the attack, Chen Wei still stood with a determined look as he faced Lu Wei with hatred and fury. AHRG. You piece of shit, I'll kill you for doing this. Chen Wei yelled as he tried to advance recklessly to fight Lu Wei. Chen Wei, control yourself. You'll die if you continue like this. Chen Ming tried to warn his brother, but even in this brief distraction, he almost took a point-blank attack from Lu Wei. Damn, he's still too inexperienced for real combat. Chen Ming thought as he regretted judging his brother capable of coming to war. The GU master restraining Chen Wei saw an opportunity in this and let him move freely to attack Lu Wei and throw his life away. But to his shock, the boy acting like a madman didn't go towards Lu Wei but towards him. And due to the short distance and terrifying speed of Chen Wei using the Bloodthirst Rush GU, before he could react and form an effective defense, Chen Wei was already in front of him. Mortal Killer Move, Bloody Sword Killer Cut. He was cut in the waist 3 times, which instantly collapsed his defense while he was cut in half by Chen Wei, dying instantly. Piercer of the Heavens is indeed an arrogant name for a mere rank 2 who can't even kill me, let alone pierce the heavens. Chen Wei calmly spoke as he healed from the wound after killing a rank 2 middle stage in 3 cuts, his eyes focused on Lu Wei. For a brief moment, everyone on the battlefield was shocked because not only did an elite GU master from an elite team who had reached the middle stage of rank 2 die in mere 3 cuts, but the one who delivered these 3 cuts was a novice who was only at the initial stage of rank 2. Of course, Chen Wei has middle stage primeval essence, but none of them know that, and he's not going around revealing that information for them to know anyway. Damn. Lu Wei cursed mentally as he gritted his teeth in anger but tried to remain calm and not let the sudden death of his comrade affect him psychologically. But this didn't diminish his shock because he was sure that such a powerful attack had to be a killer move, but at the same time, he couldn't believe that Chen Wei could not only use but create a killer move. The reason for this is that even among the elders of the clan who are in rank 3, those who have the ability to use killer moves are few, and of these few, all of them have years and years of experience. So much so that him being able to use a killer move when he reached the upper stage of rank 2 made him unanimously recognized by all 3 clans as the most talented young man of his generation. And that's because the killer move he used wasn't even created by him but was given to him by his father, who is the leader of the Fengji clan, which has access to various killer moves created by their ancestors, with wind that pierces the heavens being one of the strongest among them. Of course, he's not without merits since he managed not only to learn the killer move but also reproduce it with rank 2 strength. But before he could ponder more on the impressive feat happening in front of him, he heard several sounds of GU masters from both clans arriving as reinforcements. Quickly, protect the clan members. Two different groups of GU masters from opposing sides arrived at this moment to reinforce their allies. Both sides sent rank 3 elders since those GU masters who were fighting were truly important in the eyes of their clans. One was the most recognized talented youth by the 3 clans, Louis, and the other 2 were the grandchildren of an elder from the clan, one of whom was even an A-grade talent and had already shown monstrous talent for refining and combat. Both elders, from the Heian and the Feng Ji clans, engaged in a brief combat that quickly turned into a stalemate with the reinforcement teams doing the same. But both sides quickly retreated to avoid unnecessary casualties since neither side was willing to go all out for a life or death battle. Needless to say, from this hostile encounter between the 2 clans, the biggest winner was the Heian clan, with Chen Wei becoming a rising star known to all 3 clans. Now people from all 3 clans know him by the title of Blood Prince. Piercing Blood GU, as I imagined, has incredible power. Chen Wei holds a GU that resembles a red wasp, measuring over 3 centimeters in size, with a stinger that would make anyone fear becoming its target. It's been 2 months since Chen Wei and his team ended up having to fight Louis for the first time, resulting in a significant threat to Chen Wei's life, which he narrowly avoided. Of course, this experience alone wouldn't be enough for him to replicate the killer move, wind that pierces the heavens, to the extent of transforming it into a bloodpath GU. However, during these 2 months, they ended up encountering each other several times in the war, some by coincidence and others in planned ways. In the end, every killer move is just an incomplete GU recipe. This knowledge doesn't come from his own experiences or inspirations but are the direct opinions of the greatest expert in the refinement path that the GU world has ever seen, the infamous heaven-refining demon Venerable. Of course, the power of this GU he created isn't at the level of the killer move's strength yet, nor does it have an effect entirely identical to wind that pierces the heavens, as Chen Wei merely used the killer move as inspiration and a mold for his own GU, which has a similar effect. But I can try to replicate the killer move, and if I advance this GU to rank 2, my killer move will become even stronger than the original. During these mere 2 months, Chen Wei's strength, both due to his increased battle experience and because he refined more GU to rank 2, has been increasing at a rate that is shocking everyone, even Chen Wei himself. But all this development is only possible because apparently, the heavens will has stopped hating me. Initially, he found himself in various situations where Chen Wei was certain that the heavens will was trying to eliminate him for being an otherworldly demon. But recently, he hasn't found himself in any of those situations anymore. In fact, it seems that every kind of danger or difficulty he faces is actually trying to nurture and help him become stronger instead of trying to kill him. Because of this fact, Chen Wei is extremely cautious, seeing this as a possible trap of the heavens' will. But if he could check his own luck, he would know that in the meantime, his luck has gone from a small pool of blood in the shape of a blade, which was constantly suppressed by a dazzling golden glow from the heavens. But now, it's a scarlet skull made of blood, illuminated by a blood-red glow from the heavens, which instead of repressing his luck, is actually strengthening it. Now, Chen Wei's luck is at a level that would probably suppress that of any common immortal, and the most terrifying thing is that it only shows signs of increasing. If he knew about this change, he would be shocked to his soul, but he would also understand the reason for the change in his own situation regarding the heavens' will. But for now, he had no way to assess his own luck, so his doubts about the change in heaven's will's attitude won't be answered for the time being. And along with his own increasingly rapid development, the same is happening with the blood path in the Heian clan, which is now becoming the path of choice for most rank 1 GU masters seeking something cheap to buy, maintain, and strong in attack. These blood path GU have even reached the other 2 clans through spies and GU masters from the Heian clan who would do anything for money. This development doesn't make Chen Wei angry, as the more people use blood path GU, the better. In fact, Chen Wei is doing everything he can to spread the fame and renown of the blood path, going so far as to shout the names of his killer moves out loud to make them recognized and possible inspirations for those choosing the blood path as their main one. I imagine that when I become an elder of the clan, using blood path will really make its popularity explode. He knows that although a bunch of rank 1 GU masters and young GU masters who are ambitious and reckless are using the blood path, most experts, except for the Bleeding Eyes GU, which has become almost mandatory among GU master teams, aren't changing from their main paths to blood path. It's not that they don't see the potential or don't understand the strength that the blood path has, but they simply can't afford the cost of changing paths now. This cost doesn't refer to primeval stones but rather to the difficulty of recreating their combat system with the blood path instead of their original paths, to which they are accustomed, in a narrow path with less than 10 rank 2 GU existing, which would force them to be pioneers. But still, most experts have plans regarding blood path. This is to see if its creator Chen Wei can not only increase the overall strength and development of the path to an acceptable level for these experts but also see if he could reach the acclaimed level of elders still using the blood path. Panda Blood GU, whoever created it is truly talented. Chen Wei holds in his hand a GU that was created by one of the members of the Xianxia clan. Although it's useless for Chen Wei, it made him very happy as it's making blood path become more common and widespread, which in the future will help him use the experience and creations of others for his own benefit. Well, he's still using the blood path as a support instead of it being the main one, but it's still a bit of progress. The Gu's effect is to make the GU Master's blood more compatible with the Xianxia clan's main GU, the Panda Strength GU, making the GU Master able to unleash greater force when used together. There have also been some GU Masters from my clan who are starting to refine new blood path GU, but they're still taking the first steps too. Chen Wei already plans that when he becomes the clan leader, he will make the blood path the clan's main path. Besides, he has changed his mind about leaving the clan and now plans to take them into his immortal aperture after becoming an immortal. This change comes mainly from his own change of heart as well as his fear of how the heavens will can use the members of the Heian clan to target him, which has diminished considerably, as there is nothing he can imagine that they can do to kill or harm him when he's an immortal and they are a bunch of mortals, no matter how many. Moreover, they will be very important for a plan he has been formulating recently. Well, at least it's important that he leaves some of his descendants in a dominant position in the southern border after his death, but that's a conversation for later. Now Chen Wei has to focus on refining more GU to rank 2. So far, I've refined 2 more severe bleeding GU, which have an incredible effect. The Gu's strength has excited Chen Wei, as just a mere small cut on the hand would be enough to make a rank 1 GU master bleed to death in a few minutes, and if the cut was deep, this time wouldn't exceed a minute. But the best is the internal bleeding effect. The old bleeding GU caused a little internal bleeding, but nothing capable of causing serious damage and served more to hinder the healing of the GU master who was bleeding. However, the severe bleeding GU causes such severe internal bleeding that the GU master wouldn't even need to be cut to end up dying, of course, under the condition that no one heals him. Perhaps at rank 3 or 4, I'll be able to kill someone quickly with internal bleeding. In fact, all this thought about blood inside the body gave Chen Wei a great idea of how to use the bleeding stop GU for attack instead of healing. Fierce Leech GU, this is definitely the most useful rank 2 for me right now. It's because of it that during his fights, Chen Wei has almost never lacked primeval essence, as now that the GU is rank 2, the Fierce Leech GU generates rank 2 middle stage primeval essence after absorbing blood, of course, with the curse of needing more blood or of higher quality. But even for this GU, I'm already imagining a way to create an attack-focused version of it. Chen Wei has noticed this for some time, but the blood path probably has the most murderous intention of any other path of this era or any era, probably only rivaled by the soul path and surpassed only by the killing path. Honestly, after experiencing a bit of the power of the blood killer GU, I completely understand why the spectral soul wanted to create this path so much. Chen Wei knows that although the blood killer is a blood path GU, it has a bit of the depth of the killing path as well as the human path too. The reason Chen Wei thinks this is that every time he kills someone with intention using the blood path during all this time, the blood killer GU is slightly upgraded to rank 2. This effect is simply incredible. Following this logic, as long as he kills enough, he could even reach rank 9 with enough killing. I've theorized about this a bit, but I wonder if blood and soul paths are 2 sides of the same coin to reach killing path. Even though he thinks this, he doesn't have strong conviction, as if this were the case, spectral soul would know it and would have cultivated the blood path instead of the food path as his secondary. If Chen Wei made a list of which paths he would like to cultivate if he had to choose, soul path would be right below blood path as the 3rd and 4th place, with the first and second being heaven and human paths, which in Chen Wei's opinion are the strongest, and in fifth place comes refinement, which he saw how powerful it can be in the right hands, like Fang Yuan's. And although Chen Wei is not aware of it now, this Gu he called Blood Killer doesn't include just one or two of these paths but actually includes all of them. Chen Wei finishes his self-reflections and experiments with his recently refined rank 2 Gu and steps out of his room after feeling the need for some fresh air to clear his mind. He arrives at one of the windows of his house, which can be described more as a luxurious and splendid mansion than a simple house since it has almost 300 square meters of internal area, which in the Heian clan where land is expensive and hard to obtain is very impressive. From the window, he can see a training field filled with young people around his age, with the oldest being at most 20 years old. But what would impress people who see the scene is that all these young people are skillfully using blood path Gu of different varieties created by Chen Wei. This scene, of course, is not unexpected at all, as even those elite rank 2 Gu masters can see the great potential of the blood path. How could Chen Wei's grandfather and father, who have more knowledge about the blood path than all these elite Gu masters combined, not know about its potential and explore it? Much of this comes from the fact that Chen Wei always shares his discoveries and knowledge in the blood path with his grandfather, who after seeing that the power of the blood path not only remained but increased at rank 2, decided firmly to change the main path of the family from water path, like the rest of the clan, to the new blood path. His grandfather even works with him to refine a rank 3 blood path Gu for himself, which would be called Blood Rain Gu, which would allow his grandfather to modify his killer move to one that he and Chen Wei have been working on based on his grandfather's famous killer move. Mortal killer move, Raging Bloodstorm. And as his grandfather intends to call the modified killer move with the qualities of the blood path. But of course, this is only an objective that they still have a long way to go, mainly due to the difficulty of refining now that they have reached rank 3. Of course, Chen Wei's refining abilities are incredible for his age and experience, already making his grandfather praise him for hours while murmuring about how great his potential is. But he is still far from his grandfather's level, who is an extremely experienced and talented rank 3 Gu master. But even his grandfather has to be careful in refining a new rank 3 Gu, especially when this Gu comes from a new path that has been unexplored until now. This applies to everyone, not just in the Heian clan but throughout the Longshan Mountain and Gu world. As far as Chen Wei can tell from his research, even the best publicly recognized Gu master refiner among the 3 clans must still have a common attainment in refinement path. In fact, among the 3 clans, there must be no one with master attainment in any path from what Chen Wei saw. Master attainment is only the first step, but it's still so difficult to achieve for us mere mortals. Chen Wei looks at the young people who don't stop their Gu training, lost in deep thought, as he has recently had the feeling of finally reaching quasi-master attainment in blood path. He doesn't know how to describe the feeling, and how he knows this, but it's as if an instinct within him simply told him so, and his real-life experiences only confirm this feeling. And although quasi-master attainment doesn't sound impressive, and Chen Wei knows that compared to the monsters of this world, it's nothing, but compared to the mortal world, and especially to the 3 clans of the Longshan Mountain, it's an unprecedented achievement. Having witnessed it personally, he is sure that his grandfather has quasi-master attainment in water path, and according to his own grandfather, there is only one elder who compares to him. In addition, his grandfather described the old leader of the clan as much more skilled than himself and the current leader of the clan as being at comparable levels. And if we extrapolate that the same must be true for the other clans, except for the factor of the old clan leader, there would be at most 10 quasi-masters in a mountain with hundreds of thousands of people. Which is already a spectacular rate by mortal world standards since most Gu masters will never even reach rank 2, much less have time to think about what attainment is and how important it is. Young master, did you call for my presence? Chen Wei is taken out of his thoughts by a young Gu master of his age who has a worried expression, afraid of having annoyed Chen Wei since he hadn't noticed that Chen Wei was lost in deep thought before he arrived and interrupted him. Ma Fei, good to see you. I was indeed waiting for you, Chen Wei speaks calmly, without a hint of anger for being taken out of his thoughts. Here, I need you to have this new Gu that I developed. Chen Wei hands him a Gu in the form of a small white spider with small red spots on its body. Thank you, young master. I will do my best to help you with your new creation. Ma Fei quickly takes the GU without hesitation, but inside he is extremely nervous about using this GU since he has never seen it before, knows nothing about its effect, much less its risks. This is the Wolf Blood GU. It has the ability to make a GU master more compatible with Wolf Strength type GU, thus releasing greater strength. Ma Fei looks at the GU with a look of shock and reverence, as if he were holding a sacred GU for which he would be willing to fight for his life to keep. Young master, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for this gift. I swear I will not disappoint you. He kneels before Chen Wei with reverence since this GU could be considered a major breakthrough that could even change the face of the strength path in the mortal world of the southern frontier. This is the reason Chen Wei called the GU master who created this GU truly talented, since it is basically a great innovation for the strength path that helps solve one of the major problems of the path, which is the GU master's inability to release all the strength of the animal they have. Of course, this GU does not completely solve this problem and is only a viable solution for the low levels of the mortal world, but 98% of GU masters are at the low levels of the mortal world. So if this type of animal blood GU spreads, it will become extremely popular, since even in this era the strength path is still the most common among low-level GU masters. Unfortunately, this GU would never be useful for the immortal world because of the conflicting Dao marks that would not only cause the effect to fail but perhaps even be detrimental to the immortal GU of the strength path that uses it. This GU is of the spent type, so after you use it, your blood will become permanently like this, so you must be sure to follow the wolf strength type GU route. Chen Wei speaks, not wanting to see a capable and talented subordinate throw away his future because of a rash decision. But the positive side is that it doesn't consume primal essence. Besides, I will research a way to reverse the blood change, but still think well since I'm not sure of success in this research. Yes, young master, I will give my decision to you by tomorrow. Ma Fei says enthusiastically as he heads to his house to use the GU since he has already decided to use it the moment Chen Wei mentioned its effect. This GU has both blood path and transformation effects. I really want to meet the creator of this GU. He knows that the creator of this GU was the most powerful elder of the Xianxia clan, so the possibility of the two of them meeting to share knowledge is almost nil, which left Chen Wei quite disappointed. Among the venerables, the one Chen Wei most identified with after starting his GU cultivation journey was Limitless Demon Venerable. He completely understands why he lived his whole life as a determined and unchanging Dao seeker, as until now in his life in the GU world, the moments he remembers most happily are not those he spent with his family or friends having fun, but those in which he made a new discovery that advanced his knowledge and blood path. Who knows what the future holds, for I swear one day I will also be at the level of these great legends of humanity. Chen Wei now looks to the heavens wondering what it will be like to see this world from above, seeing everything in the mortal world as small and insignificant while seeking his own Dao in this world. But he is taken out of his thoughts by a heart-shaped GU that is scarlet red, which is divided in half in his aperture that began to vibrate, indicating to him that he has received a message from Wang Mei, who has the other half of the GU with her. Blood Love GU. He feels embarrassed speaking the name of this GU aloud. Why did she have to give it that name? This was a GU he created to give as a present to Wang Mei after she went through the awakening ceremony, which was at the beginning of this year. The GU allows two people who have an emotional relationship to communicate, but it was necessary for both sides to have good feelings for the other party for the communication to work. She wants to meet, this time to learn how to better use her GU. Chen Wei routinely meets with Wang Mei since they are engaged and their wedding will be at the end of the year, so they are expected to get closer to a certain point, and it's not like Chen Wei doesn't enjoy spending time with her. Serene Water GU is a good GU for her, besides being one of the strongest rank 1 GU of the water path that exist in the clan. Of course, this GU was not picked by her in the clan's academy but was her father's personal gift, who was willing to nurture his daughter with all his heart, as she showed an A-grade talent of 80% primeval essence. I bet the leader is furious for losing his most talented daughter in a political marriage with me. Although she is his daughter, from the moment she marries Chen Wei, she will be a member of the Chen family, and because of the archaic and feudal customs of this world, even if they are strong, women still have a lower status than men who are in the same cultivation rank as them, so she will have to obey the orders of her husband, who will be Chen Wei. And at no point did it cross Chen Wei's mind that her having an A grade of 80% was strange, since her father is the clan leader and also has an A grade talent just like her mother has a B grade talent, so it is expected that they would have at least one child with an A grade talent. That's what he thought, since he doesn't know about the fact that she is an otherworldly demon just like him. And the same goes for her father, who doesn't suspect anything while he is in a conflict of emotions, happy that his daughter has great talent but at the same time angry that she is publicly engaged to Chen Wei, and trying to forcibly separate this engagement could cause a great conflict in the clan that would be exploited by his enemies from the Xiangmao and Fengji clans to attack the Heian clan. And the worst part is that the girl is hopelessly in love with this boy Chen. There are no words to describe how angry he is about this, especially when she voluntarily constantly meets with Chen Wei, and the clan leader cannot stop her since they are engaged. And Wang Mei, well, she continues to live what to her is a dream from romances or fairy tales, to think about the reason she came to this world or things like that. But the thing that all three have in common is that they have no idea about the old monster who could make the world tremble with fear just by mentioning his name, who is helping Chen Wei and Wang Mei from the shadows while doing a feat that will be remembered forever in history as the greatest theft in history. A shout out to Fang Yuan 1234 in his amazing novel Reverend Insanity, Perpetual Motion. I recommend this fanfic to everyone as it has incredible quality in addition to being one of the rare fanfics there is out. Well, you're focusing too much on direct and violent attacks, but that's not the style of this GU. Chen Wei guides Wang Mei's hands to execute a softer and more delicate attack instead of the straightforward ones that made him appear to be using a strange version of the watercut GU. I think I understand, but it's really difficult to use GU while coordinating this veil of water to move correctly. Wang Mei slowly improves her control of the GU but is still far from being considered a master of it. However, she's now at a better level than before. You'll get used to it until it becomes as natural as breathing at some point. Chen Wei observes her movements, which to his eyes seem very clumsy and forced. Just don't get discouraged. The downside of this GU is that its use is really difficult, but it compensates for its strength and versatility. Chen Wei has considerable knowledge about this GU because it's his mother's vital GU, despite his mother's being the rank 2 version of the GU. Wang Mei struggles to control this thin veil of water to gracefully dance around her, succeeding for the first time after an entire afternoon of failed attempts and an increasingly frustrated Chen Wei. Chen, I did it. She jumps for joy, looking at him with an expectant gaze, waiting to be praised for her good work. Chen Wei's heart beats a little faster as he is momentarily speechless. I am very proud of you, Mayor. You are amazing. HMPH, you don't know how to compliment a girl. She speaks, pretending to be angry as she paces back and forth, hoping he doesn't notice how flushed she became with his praise. Let's forget about that. Have you thought about what your second GU will be? Chen Wei watches her before quickly deciding to change the subject to one where he doesn't need to carefully police what he says to avoid making the girl even more embarrassed. I'm going to get the water thought GU. My father said it's the best for the path I want to follow, and I agree. She chooses this GU, which plays the role of assisting the GU master in their thoughts and in controlling the water path GU. Wisdom path, Chen Wei thinks as he looks at the GU. Despite most GU masters in the clan being aware of the existence of the wisdom path, which is the main path of the second Venerable of Humanity star constellation Immortal Venerable, they also have no idea how the wisdom path works or how it would be formulated. However, Chen Wei's understanding of the wisdom path may even surpass that of most common immortals. In fact, situations where his theoretical knowledge far exceeds even common immortals extend to many paths, some of which could be great assets for Chen Wei if he knows how to use them correctly. Chen Wei himself had made it a top priority for the first few years of his life to find a wisdom or information path GU that would allow him to improve his memory or record what he remembers from the novel. But he only managed to find one recently because of one of the GU masters of the Fengji clan that Chen Wei recently killed. He was caught off guard and panicked, so he couldn't destroy all his GU. One of which he didn't destroy was the rank 1 good memory GU, which Chen Wei promptly took as spoils of war and now treats as one of the most important GU he has. It's a good GU for those who don't want to fight on the front lines but rather act more as a strategist at the base. Despite wanting to cultivate the wisdom path in certain parts, he knows it's not the path for him. Even if he tries, he doesn't consider himself talented enough in wisdom path to create a path for himself as he is doing with blood path. That's exactly what I plan to do. And now, with my dark green primeval essence, I can train 4 times more than before. She speaks excitedly, as someone who comes from a world dominated by technology where magic only existed in books. She is extremely excited to practice the magical powers she obtained after coming to this world. Although it's fantastic, you can't get used to it because this advantage of the liquor worm ends after rank 2. Of course, Chen Wei has a way to refine the liquor worm to rank 2, but he hasn't revealed this secret even to his grandfather, let alone he would casually reveal it to Wang Mei just because she's a pretty girl. In fact, an interesting fact related to the liquor worm in this era is that although it is still an expensive GU that only rich families would buy to give to their descendants, the liquor worm is not a rare or difficult to find GU like in Fang Yuan's era, just like various strength path GU that make strength path cultivation at the mortal level still very viable. And these are just a few examples, as the GU world is constantly changing, and Chen Wei can only experience this change from the perspective of being a mere mortal in a medium-sized clan on some random mountain in the southern border. But isn't there a way to find out how to make it go to rank 2 like you did with the Leech GU? Wang Mei, who is using upper stage rank 1 primeval essence despite being only at middle stage rank 1, doesn't want to lose this advantage she acquired now. But there's nothing she can do about it, which leaves her very frustrated. If creating a new GU recipe were as easy as simply wanting to. Anyway, there are GU that cannot advance beyond a certain level, and the liquor worm is publicly recognized as one of those GU. Chen Wei speaks half-truths along with his lies, as although there are GU that cannot advance in level like the Hope GU or Lifespan GU, the liquor worm is not one of them, but for the GU masters of the clan, it is, so he won't deny as something that benefits himself. Besides, the Leech GU is from my blood path, which is the strongest path there is. Chen Wei says jokingly, but at the same time, he has a certain pride in the capabilities of the blood path, which tend to exceed other common paths. But of course, this exaggerated pride is just another lighthearted joke of his rather than him actually thinking he's superior just for creating some rank 2 GU worms. Blood path, sounds cool but evil at the same time, Wang Mei murmurs softly. She knows that Chen Wei has already killed several people in the war, as he is constantly praised by clan members as a great war hero and the most talented junior of his generation. In fact, after the first mission he participated in the war, where he ended up fighting against the Piercer of the Heavens and killing his first person, Wang Mei rushed to hug and comfort what she expected would be a devastated Chen Wei after killing another person for the first time. But he entered the clan with a smile on his face while confidently accepting the acclaim and praise from everyone that came his way, which left Wang Mei relieved because he wasn't suffering or in a deplorable state after killing someone. But at the same time, it left her worried that her fiancé was a little too calm after having killed another human being, in addition to acting as if it were something honorable. But when she presented these doubts and conflicts to her mother, she simply laughed and asked what was wrong with Chen Wei's attitude of returning as a triumphant hero instead of a man who would lament the death of an enemy. That's when she realized that this world is really very different from Earth, since despite her father on Earth having fought in the Franco-Prussian War and being very proud of it, he vehemently said that war was hell and always cut off Wang Mei's brother when he began to talk about how the German Empire should declare war again on the French. Of course, it's not as if Europe were the most peaceful place, but before she came to this world, it had already been 2 years since the turn of the century, which was the most peaceful and most developed in human history, being even called by all Europeans the Belle Époque because of its unprecedented prosperity. So when she came to this world that resembles ancient and medieval China, according to what she read in books, which were her greatest companions throughout her life since she had weak health and didn't go out much before going to university to study psychology, which made her go out even less but now from the university. When I left such a prosperous and beautiful era to come to this archaic and medieval world. I felt a certain level of fear, but also excitement after discovering the powers of these magical GU. She looks at the GU in her aperture, which has the form of a small sky blue squid, and then looks at Chen Wei, who looks at her, waiting for her response. She feels warmth in her heart. I love you, he and Chen Wei. She murmurs softly as she blushes more than ever before in her life after realizing how much he means to her, being her first love. What are you mumbling about? Chen Wei can't hear what Wang Mei is murmuring, so he just sees her standing still for a while thinking about something before murmuring something he didn't understand before she blushes like a tomato. But when he starts asking what she said, he sees Wang Mei running over to him before standing on her tiptoes to kiss him while wrapping her arms around his neck. It's not as if Chen Wei is very tall, although he is a little tall for his age, and it's just that Wang Mei was quite short even for a girl her age. But Chen Wei reacts quickly and puts his hands on her waist, making her body tremble with nervousness since she is not used to this kind of touch, and she doesn't come from the most liberal society. Besides, her father on earth never let her have much contact with boys her age. After a while, Wang Mei separates from Chen Wei's kiss and speaks while blushing like a tomato. That's your reward for helping me, but don't get used to it. We can't do more, until well, you know, the wedding and, our first. She starts speaking with a bossy tone and at least a little confident, but with each word, she becomes more timid and with a greater desire to just run away and pretend that nothing happened. Goodbye, Chen Wei. Wang Mei gives up trying to continue speaking and turns around before running home to vent to Lianzi about what happened and what she did. Chen Wei watches the girl running away while cutely trying to hide how flushed she is while he has a loving smile on his face. Ah, this girl, she really makes me feel like this. Chen Wei looks at the sky, but now he doesn't feel any disdainful looks being sent back at him. In fact, he doesn't feel anything, as if he were invisible to the heavens. Welcome to Fanfic Audiobook, your go-to place for immersive audiobooks. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. The sun rises in the sky on a sunny day, still bearing a bit of the lingering chill of late winter, but life is already returning to Longwushan Mountain, with birds singing joyfully in the skies and trees blooming again, forming forests full of animals that have now emerged from their hibernations and need to find food. Amidst the beautiful and untouched wilderness lies a clan that stands like a beacon of human civilization, exuding the fervor and prosperity that humans are experiencing in this golden age of humanity. The streets are filled with pedestrians and passers-by who walk cheerfully, as well as vendors trying to make a living selling their products. Some of them have broad smiles on their faces for their success, while others wear expressions of worry, unsure if they'll manage to provide for their families until the end of the month. In the midst of the clan, oblivious the chaos and excitement of the streets, stands a mansion of azure color, built using marble in an ancient Chinese structure that would make anyone from Earth think they are looking into the past. However, for the people of the GU world, it's the more common sight of how a mansion should appear. This mansion belongs to the Chen family, who are now enjoying a rare moment of leisure with the entire family gathered to enjoy each other's company and catch up on affairs, as the four men of the family are all very busy and usually cannot afford to spend time simply relaxing and resting, but today is an exception. So in the end, after Ren Zhu placed the bodies of his children into the derivation GU, humanity became what it is today. Chen Wei finishes reading Legends of Ren Zhu. This isn't his first read, nor will it be his last, as during this period in the GU world, he has been reading this book as if it were the Holy Bible. Although I've understood many of the depths of the story, I still haven't felt my human path attainment increase even a bit. This thought, along with the fact that despite numerous attempts, Chen Wei has never even heard of human path GU, led him to believe that heavens will had placed some sort of restriction on this path and would only allow certain chosen ones to cultivate it, much like Shen Shang, the GU immortal of the Eastern Sea. Sweetie, you should enjoy this moment with your family rather than reading this children's book. A woman in her early 40s, but not looking her age due to her beautiful, wrinkle-free face, wearing a purple traditional Chinese dress, which along with her demeanor, makes her appear as an elegant and beautiful empress of ancient China. Ah, all right, mother, I've finished reading this anyway. The woman Chen Wei addresses is, of course, his mother, Si Ling, who has a surprising origin for her current position. The woman in front of him, whom he calls mother, resembling an empress in beauty and elegance, actually comes from a mortal family with no talent for cultivation. They were only considered members of the Heian clan because of a marriage between a GU master and her family that happened 3 generations ago. Despite this humble origin, Si Ling still awakened an exceptional grade B talent, which made her the target of pursuit by all the major families of the clan who wanted a talented woman with no political affiliations with other factions for them to marry their heirs. In the end, the winner of this competition was the old fox called Chen Wang, who promptly married Chen Wei's mother and father and ordered them to have at least 3 heirs, who became Chen Ming, Chen Wei, and Chen Hua. Ha ha ha, let the boy be, he loves reading these stories since he was a child. Do you remember how he almost cried when he finished the book for the first time? Chen Wang, who usually acts like a magnanimous ruler who never lets other people know what's on his mind or what his plans are, is now teasing Chen Wei like any common grandfather would, not acting at all like the feared, most powerful elder of the clan. His mother smiles elegantly and modestly at Chen Wang's joke, but Chen Wei knows she didn't find it funny at all by the way she's acting and by the fact that she hates both his grandfather and father, with her showing genuine love and concern only for her children. But this is to be expected, as in all the political conflict in the clan to know who Si Ling would marry, the last person whose opinion was asked was her, and after already being married, Chen Wei doubts that his father cared about her emotions or consent before impregnating her, and it's not like his father is the most faithful man in the world either. Chen Wei himself is fully aware of the difficulty of resisting this temptation because it's one thing to say that engaging in carnal desires instead of cultivation is something only a fool would do and that lust would lead a GU master to perdition, so it shouldn't be practiced. Another thing is to refuse several of the most beautiful women you've ever seen in your life offering themselves to you to take their bodies and make them your concubines who can be used in any way you want to satisfy your sexual desires. Of course, Chen Wei had strong enough willpower to resist this temptation, which compared to his goals is nothing, but he no longer has a judgmental opinion of those young masters who lose themselves in lust and sexual pleasure, although for Chen Wei, this is a pathetic end for someone of great talent like these young masters. I've told both of you that this book is deeper than a mere children's story. Although revealing this seems stupid since it's a big secret in the GU world with the legends of Ren Zhu being the greatest inheritance of the human path, he simply gave an excuse to his grandfather to stop bothering him while he's reading legends of Ren Zhu instead of cultivating. Yes, I love it when Big Brother reads legends of Ren Zhu to me before bedtime. Chen Hua, who is playing with a bloody creature, comes running with it in her hand as if it were a harmless cat before being stopped by Chen Liang. What did I tell you about not mistreating the bloody creature if you want to keep it as a pet? Chen Hua releases the bloody creature on the ground with a sad expression, but the bloody creature, after touching the ground, runs to Chen Wei with a desperate look like a dog who found its owner whom it hasn't seen for months. The bloody creature climbs onto Chen Wei's lap and looks at him with pleading eyes, never wanting to be with the innocent-looking girl again, which to the bloody creature looks like a demon straight from the deepest layer of hell. It's all right, I'm here. Chen Wei strokes the bloody creature, which has a fat, round body with a large mouth full of fangs and sharp teeth, as well as 4 claws capable of causing deep cuts on a person's body. And with all these body parts of the creature made for killing and attacking, you wonder why the bloody creature didn't attack Chen Hua instead of running to Chen Wei's lap as soon as it had the chance and is now in his lap like a docile puppy instead of trying to attack him. Well, the reason for that is that this bloody creature is no longer the first version of it created using blood from various creatures and the effect of another GU in an archaic and experimental way. But this bloody creature was created using a disposable GU that Chen Wei recently created after an inspiration while experimenting with people. This new GU created by him was called the Blood Creature GU, and it's a rank 1 GU that can create only one bloody creature. This bloody creature, as it was created using a GU, is totally loyal to Chen Wei and by his orders cannot harm anyone in his family, and not even the servants of the Chen family if they don't attack him first, so he is basically in a position where he can do nothing against the abuses of the little girl, even though he has the strength of a peak stage rank 1. And as he was created from a rank 1 GU, his strength will never be able to reach rank 2. So even if he could consume blood to go from the stage where his strength was comparable to a rank 1 initial stage to now being comparable to a peak stage rank 1, even if he drank all the blood in the Heian clan, he still wouldn't reach rank 2. Besides, he cannot reproduce using blood like the bloody creature created by Chen Wei in his experiments, which Chen Wei theorizes will only be possible to solve in rank 3 or rank 4. Creating a totally new creature in a path that has never existed before, such talent. Chen Wang mutters, looking at the bloody creature in Chen Wei's lap while having complicated feelings, as he is happy with his grandson's incredible talent, but as a proud person, he feels a certain melancholy seeing how untalented he is compared to Chen Wei. But as Chen Wei looks at the bloody creature, he feels no pride with this great achievement since he himself does not see it as anything compared to the desolate beasts that exist in this world and are the weakest of the immortal beasts. But even an immemorial desolate beast that has strength comparable to rank 8, which is unimaginable and incomprehensible to the current Chen Wei, is still a bit lower than Chen Wei's goal in this life before he reaches the immortal realm of rank 6. Verdant great sun, desolate ancient moon, northern dark ice soul, boundless forest samsara, blazing glory lightning brilliance, myriad gold wondrous essence, great strength true martial, carefree wisdom heart, fake earth central origin, cosmic great derivation, the 10 children of Ren Zhu. Chen Wei mutters while looking at the creature in his hand, knowing that it is only the first step towards his ultimate goal of creating an artificial extreme physique of blood path. It has been shown as possible with the creation of the pure dream reality seeker in the novel by an immortal of rank 8 who wasn't even a dream path immortal. Chen Wei thinks deeply. He would never dare to say these thoughts aloud as these are secrets that, if he can, he will take to the grave. Do you still remember how excited you got when you discovered, for some reason, the names of the last 2? Chen Wang speaks beside him while taking the bloody creature from Chen Wei's hands to evaluate if it has had any changes in the meantime. By the names of the extreme physique and by the legends of Ren Zhu, it becomes easy to guess which path they belong to, and these paths coincidentally align with at least one venerable of the novel. This thought certainty only increased in his mind after reading and rereading the legends of Ren Zhu several times, with the only venerable without a compatible physique being the Great Dream who would create an artificial extreme physique as seen in the novel. But what got him more excited than all of this is that towards the end of the legends of Ren Zhu, there are many situations related to blood and rivers and seas full of blood, as well as beasts bathed in blood that pursued Ren Zhu. But even this doesn't compare to something that gave him great inspiration one of those days while he was reading the legends of Ren Zhu. In fact, this inspiration reignited the flame within him that motivated him to create an artificial extreme physique of the blood path. This was a detail that he believes no one ever noticed, but he, as the creator of the blood path, managed to see a bit of its depth that basically declared blood as the essence of life, which was one of the things necessary to create humans, as well as one of the foundations that allow the life of all living beings. He came to a conclusion: if soul path is a failed attempt to create killing path, then blood path could be a failed attempt to create vitality path. Blood. That's the first thing anyone would notice seeing the carnage happening in a once peaceful and vibrant clearing of Longwushan Mountain, now painted red with various bodies on the ground. These bodies belong solely to GU masters, with the majority in a deplorable state, with very few still managing to cling to life by a hair's breadth. And outside this battlefield of life or death is another smaller group of GU masters wearing characteristic dark azure clothing of the Heian clan, observing the battle while conversing among themselves. Enslavement path is truly frightening, especially when combined with your blood path. Chenming speaks with a certain level of animation, as this battle forces in his brother's hands, but he is also dismayed at the possibility of their enemies being able to develop something similar. I doubt even we would be able to withstand such a force, Zhenfu says, but still keeps most of his attention on the battlefield as he needs to concentrate on the thorn barrier he created to trap their dying enemies like flies. Blood creature family GU, just as I imagined, the effect is incredible against low-ranking GU masters. Chen Wei is now using the recently advanced version of the rank 1 blood creature GU, the rank 2 blood creature family GU, which not only has greater combat capability, allowing the bloody creatures to reach a strength comparable to rank 2 peak stage if they consume enough blood. But they also come in larger numbers, with each GU generating 12 bloody creatures that function basically like a family, obeying the strongest creature in their family. This is a great advantage for the GU master controlling the bloody creatures, as it only requires a fraction of mental energy compared to what he would have to expend if he had to control each bloody creature individually. This was a feature he created, drawing inspiration from the blood bats that appear in the first volume of the novel, and which it is said Fang Yuan used in his past life, which was quite easy considering they were also blood path GU beasts. My ability in enslavement path is still too low. With such an advantage, it still takes me half an hour to kill them. It's quite pathetic. Chen Wei is now using an army of 60 bloody creatures, most of which are at rank 1 peak stage, with 8 of them at initial stage and 2 at rank 2 middle stage in terms of combat strength, as they, of course, did not have cultivation levels. The allies of the team look at Chen Wei with a complicated look because this group they ambushed and Chen Wei is massacring is a group of medium strength from the Xianxia clan, and even so, Chen Wei managed to kill them in mere half an hour, but somehow in his eyes, this is too long. Shit, why don't these damn beasts die? The only remaining GU master screams in despair after seeing yet another of the bloody creatures he wounded take a bit of blood and become unscathed again as if it had never been injured. Arg. But before he could do anything about his own indignation, he feels a bite on his ribs and knows it was one of these blood creatures that not only do not become more wounded and weaker but are actually becoming stronger. There's nothing a mere rank 1 peak stage GU master can do against this. Chen Wei sighs as he looks at the group leader of the Xianxia clan GU masters, who had a rank 2 initial stage cultivation but was quickly killed when he had to fight 10 rank 2 beasts. In fact, the only reason this GU master is still alive is that after killing their leader, Chen Wei no longer used the rank 2 beasts to fight. Instead, he focused on using these GU masters as dummies for his enslavement path practice. Unfortunately, the consumption of primeval essence is still quite high. Chen Wei inspects his aperture and sees his middle stage primeval essence reserves have already halved, even with the use of the fierce leech GU. Well, you alone killed a group of medium strength from the Xianxia clan and only spent half of your rank 2 initial stage primeval essence. Tai Pai speaks with a look of consternation. As for him, this is an achievement that, if done by him, would become the greatest honor of his life, which he would always tell his descendants. But Chen Wei did this act, which is extremely impressive in Tai Pai's eyes, only to test the strength of his new creation, and he could still do all this from a tranquil position without having to put his life at risk. This kind of GU will probably be the most important after I finally become the clan leader. The position of clan leader of the Heian clan is Chen Wei's first major life goal, and just as the time Fang Yuan spent in the Shang clan will be the trampoline that will allow him to rise to the heavens. In fact, a large part of cultivation at the mortal level has already been planned by Chen Wei, with countless contingency plans for any kind of situation he might encounter, whether realistic or not, because to him, even if the chance of something happening is zero, it is still worth preparing for if one day it actually happens. And in these plans, if everything goes according to what he expects without any accidents that could radically change his plan, he plans to remain as the leader of the Heian clan on Longwishan Mountain as an example of a leader of the righteous path. A just but stricter ruler who maintains order and discipline with an iron fist from a now Longwishan Mountain that was unified by him, thus allowing him to severely develop the clan while not having the threat of a hostile clan on his doorstep. As for the future of the other two clans, he plans to assimilate them by incapacitating all men of fighting age and turning them into servants of the Heian clan, and simply killing those who have a spirit too strong to surrender. While the old ones who will only be a burden will all be exterminated efficiently and cleanly, and with those young and easily influenced children, they will be the main targets of propaganda and brainwashing to lose their old identities as members of the Xianxia and Fengji clans and now consider themselves as legitimate GU masters of the Heian clan. And lastly, the women will play an extremely important role, and that is to generate a new generation for the Heian clan. Of course, Chen Wei plans to encourage birth rates and increase the number of children among the free men and women who are members of the Heian clan. But he intends to use the women of the other two clans to ensure that this birth rate increases at an alarming rate that could take the Heian clan from a medium-sized clan to a large one in at least 50 years. He also plans to vigorously develop the economy and strength of the GU masters of the Heian clan so that they can have numerous rank 4 and rank 5 GU masters. Of course, Chen Wei plans to only allow extremely loyal people or those from his direct family to reach these cultivation levels. Still, in Chen Wei's ideal world, in these 50 years, the Heian clan will be a famous and imposing GU master clan that he can use to obtain the greatest number of benefits possible to aid in his cultivation beyond the development of blood path. Of course, during this time, Chen Wei will be increasing his attainment in the blood path and other important paths as much as possible, as well as focusing as much as possible on maximizing his life experiences to obtain enough human chi to achieve a high-quality immortal aperture. And a prosperous Heian clan will be of great help to him, as it will allow him not only to develop the blood path at a much faster rate than just one person, no matter how talented he is, could do. Furthermore, several abilities of the blood path may require the use of people who have a blood connection with himself, being that one of the reasons why Giant Sun left his descendants behind as he did. Well, but this only concerns the mortal world for now, as after he succeeds in his immortal ascension, Chen Wei plans to switch to the demoniac path and go out through the southern border, causing chaos as he kills and plunders indefinitely wherever he goes, leaving an endless trail of blood. And it is at this moment that he will take inspiration from two future venerables, namely Spectral Soul and Fang Yuan, who used killing and force to cause chaos at the southern border while plundering the super clans in broad daylight the way they wanted. And one of the things that may be most important to his plan, but at the same time is something he is not sure if already exists in this era. That is the inheritance of Bai Ji Yu that has not yet been inherited by the three kings and may still be at its peak, giving Chen Wei the opportunity to refine a legendary rank 6 GU called Second Aperture GU, which can allow him to cultivate two paths besides having double the recovery speed of immortal essence as well as two immortal apertures. Of course, from his knowledge of the novel, there are still more inheritances, but of those that are on the southern border and are easy to obtain, he can easily discover their location, and this is the only one, and even Chen Wei is not sure if it already exists or is yet to appear in the future. Arg. Chen Wei is snapped out of his thoughts by the Xiangmao clan GU master, who has just given his last scream before dying, falling into a puddle of his own blood and urine. Ah, what a depressing end for a brave warrior. Huangbi speaks while having a serious and stern look on his face as he stands still, his body seeming as solid and strong as a monolith. This is probably my last kill in some time. Chen Wei murmurs quietly, as he has asked his grandfather and Chen Ming for some time away from the front lines, as he plans to advance to rank 2 middle stage in no more than a month, since he is already in the 4th month of the year and at the slow pace his cultivation is going, he may only be able to advance to the middle stage in another 4 months. His grandfather readily accepted his request, as did Chen Ming. As for both of them, Chen Wei's cultivation is very important, so this mission, which was more of a test for Chen Wei's new creation, will be the last one he will do until he reaches the middle stage of rank 2. The entire Heian clan is shrouded in the darkness of yet another quiet and desolate night that has descended upon Longwishan Mountain, with the gentle moonlight doing little to provide illumination to the inhabitants below. Within the clan, the sparse streetlights are few and far between, casting long shadows with large distances between them. The streets are devoid of people at this late hour, with the majority of activity confined to the main thoroughfares passing through key areas of the clan. Among those who wander the deserted streets of the clan late at night, one will hardly find a woman, only men, most of whom hurry along, concealing their faces. The majority are either engaged in dubious dealings or headed towards the clan's brothels. But irrelevant to everything happening in the streets of the clan, a man of precarious appearance with a body so thin that all his ribs are visible, along with almost all the bones of his body, lies naked on a stone slab with all his limbs tied by iron chains that restrict him. If anyone were to see the man in this situation, they would wonder if he had ever eaten in his life before asking what he had done to deserve such torture, because his body bears signs of cuts and lashings, but primarily on his arm, there are signs of needle punctures. Next to his slab, there is a plaque with the inscription, Fengji Sai Mo. The man has lost track of how long he has been in this place, but to him, it feels like decades since he came to this basement to be used as a laboratory rat for nefarious experiments conducted by a demon. For most of the time, the only thing he hears are the sounds of blood drops falling irregularly from the bodies of the other people in this place. Although he cannot even turn his head a bit to see who else is with him here after spending so much time here, he knows them either by their screams when they undergo torture or by their cries of despair. You might wonder why they cannot simply talk to each other. That's because most enemy GU masters who are captured and turned into slaves have their tongues cut out so they cannot communicate or plan a revolt among themselves. Well, this actually only applies to male GU masters. As for women, their tongues are kept, but this is not out of any mercy or protection for the women, it's simply because the GU masters who buy and obtain sex slaves do not want their products damaged. He knows this because it's a practice common in all three clans, just like the Fengji clan he belongs to. In fact, despite not being proud of it, he himself has been to one of those brothels with sex slaves more than once. Perhaps this is the punishment the heavens are giving him for not only witnessing such demonic acts and doing nothing against them, but in fact, joining in just to satisfy the dark desires he had to take over a female GU master's body by force. Suddenly, he feels a strong burning sensation entering his veins and using his bloodstream to reach his whole body, making him feel as if he had been injected with a dose of deadly poison. But instead of killing him, this liquid that entered his veins actually provided strength and nourishment for him to continue living. But this did not bring him happiness. In fact, it only increased his melancholy and depression. This is not the first time this has happened. In fact, when he came to this prison, he had a strong, muscular body, as he had been a slave doing manual labor for over 2 years. But during the entire period he spent in this place, he ate nothing and drank not even a drop of water. The only thing keeping him alive is this liquid entering his veins, which he knows from his torturer's words is the effect of a GU created by his torturer. Blood Nutrition GU, this is the name of the only thing that both keeps him alive and tortures him the most during the time he has been imprisoned here. Suddenly, he hears the sound of a door opening with a loud creak, making him extremely panicked as his body trembles in fear. Amidst his terror, he prays it's not the executioner but one of the guards. "My slut missed me." The guard, quite drunk, speaks while ignoring all the other prisoners and heading towards a cell where a female prisoner he has a scornful look on his face is. The GU master of the Feng Ji clan, called Sai Mo, lying on the slab, breathes a sigh of relief as he feels his whole body relax since the guard came here only to take advantage of the female prisoner, so this has nothing to do with him. While Sai Mo thanks the heavens for not being the executioner, he begins to hear muffled moans coming from the room where the guard entered. These moans come from only one masculine voice while the female GU master suffers silently as she waits for it to end quickly. What happens is that he hears the guard leaving the prison a few minutes later, fully satisfied. But both Sai Mo and the female GU master know this is not the end of her suffering, and like them, they expect another guard to enter the prison and quickly go to the cell of the female GU master. This is a routine he has seen happen on numerous, what he imagines to be, nights for the past 2 months, to the point where the woman, who at first screamed and tried to resist at all costs while crying in fear to deaf ears, now simply endures all suffering in silence. But before the second GU master could do anything, a voice that probably sounded like an savior to the female GU master but the worst of demons to him. "You leave now, I have experiments to conduct." Chen Wei speaks irritably as he quickly enters the dungeon he uses to store his experiments while pushing the guard outside without caring at all about what he would do with the prisoner. "Yes, young master." The guard speaks with melancholy as he leaves, thinking how unlucky he was for Chen Wei to arrive just before he could have fun with the prisoner. Chen Wei begins to check the physical state of all the prisoners while using a GU to record the results of the experiments that have yielded efficient results. This has become a routine almost as natural as breathing for Chen Wei. Sai Mo, he has been surviving purely using the blood nutrition GU for 4 months now, but his condition is critical. "I don't think he will survive another month." Chen Wei speaks with a neutral voice, showing neither emotion nor sadness regarding the situation he has put this GU master in, which can be described as horrendous torture. As soon as Sai Mo heard that he probably won't survive another month, he feels immense euphoria and happiness instead of sadness since it means this torture will finally end, and he can finally rest in peace. "Unfortunately, I haven't found a way yet to make the nutrients provided enough for an adult to stay healthy, let alone make the process painless." Chen Wei notes all the results he obtained with this research using a specific GU to record only the results of this research as he moves to another prisoner. Yunbi still seems not to have adapted to the transplanted arms and legs, and he can't control them. Chen Wei looks at a GU master who is pinned to the wall by his trunk and head. His arms and legs were torn off by Chen Wei before he transplanted the arms and legs of other people he deemed compatible and tried to use GU from the blood path to make a successful transplant. Unfortunately, it seems that it did not work because the limbs did not properly adapt to the body, and now they are necrotizing, and the GU master cannot move those limbs, which is disappointing. "Well, this is a failure, but I expected it, as I am only at the beginning of my research on blood limbs type GU. This research is very important to Chen Wei, who values his own life greatly, and he has a great desire to replicate the power that the blood path presents in the novel, allowing a GU master to heal from just a drop of blood even after their entire body has been destroyed. After finishing recording the results of this research, he goes to a dimly lit corner of the dungeon where he has something that can be described as a rat paradise, as it is a cage where he breeds rats enough to reach the hundreds, but with a wave of his hand, all the rats that were moving chaotically before stop. Blood Slave really has an incredible effect, sincerely one of my most ingenious creations. The GU he praises has the effect of using the blood in the victim's body to control them, but the victim remains conscious and unable to act against it as they have lost total control of their body. Unfortunately, at rank 1, it only has the capacity to control small animals like rats or similar creatures, but this still has great potential. This potential is something he is working vehemently to make possible, as it would be a gigantic and even unfair advantage against his enemies. This is espionage. He could use small rodents as well as small animals to spy on his political enemies and discover all their secrets, but this is still a work in progress for Chen Wei. As he walks through the dungeon, he reaches the cell of the female GU master whom he saw the guard inside when he came to check on his prisoners and experiments. Lin Shi, if I'm not mistaken, she was captured on my first mission. The female GU master is lying on the ground, tears falling from her face as she cries softly. She is without any clothing, revealing a body that has already been greatly abused, looking at the wounds and bruises. I remember almost killing all the guards when I found out what they were doing. This is not because he is a good person, because if he were, this would not be happening, but it was because he thought this was a possible excuse for them to enter here and steal the results of his research, as well as potentially damaging his experiments. But then he had an inspiration for the creation of a GU that could make even a demon itself recoil at Chen Wei's cruelty. So, he allowed the guards to enter the dungeon to do whatever they wanted as long as they gave a sample of their blood each time. Of course, Chen Wei set up surveillance measures so they wouldn't touch or see anything else from his other experiments. Chen Wei approaches Lin Shi and checks if she is pregnant. Great. I was tired of waiting. Finally, one of these bastards did their job. The GU he plans to create has such a demonic aura that if anyone else discovered it, they might never look at him the same way again, they might even try to kill him. If it works, I'll name this GU Bloody Ghost Baby GU. Chen Wei silently begins to check the materials and refining procedures he will carry out, despite having meticulously planned and prepared everything to ensure nothing goes wrong at this moment when he plans to refine a blood path GU that he imagines will have incredible power. The first thing he does is use the blood transfusion GU to transfer the blood he had collected from the guards to the baby still in Lin Zai's womb. Then, he uses the blood nutrition GU to nourish both her and the baby. Arg! Please, stop! She cries desperately, feeling the agonizing and horrendous pain for the first time in her life. She tries to get up and run, but Chen Wei had already prepared for this. When she tries to move, bloodlines appear out of nowhere, binding both her hands and feet. The blood tie GU is responsible for restraining her and preventing her from escaping, while forcing her into a position resembling a pentagram, with both her arms and legs stretched out to form a star. Arg! Please, stop, stop! Her screams fall on deaf ears as Chen Wei uses the blood of 100 Beast King to paint both her body and the ground with runic patterns. After finishing this phase of the refinement, Chen Wei uses the blood creature GU and throws it towards her belly, with the GU quickly entering her belly and beginning the refining process with the baby inside. And lastly, but also the most important part of refining this GU, Chen Wei calmly uses the torment GU on Lin Shi, causing her to scream in horror louder than ever before, while her body convulses uncontrollably due to the terror she is experiencing. Torment GU really has an incredible effect. Unfortunately, it's too impractical to use in combat. This was a GU he managed to buy, as one of his grandfather's subordinates obtained it after killing 100 Beast King. The GU's effect is to imperceptibly stay in a person's body, recording and learning all the traumas the person suffers while it's in their body. Later, it can be used to make the person feel the suffering of going through all those traumas again at once. The effect of this GU is so great that depending on the size of the trauma, the person may even die because of it after being under the GU's effect for too long. But for the refinement of this GU that Chen Wei is doing, the most useful thing he has is to increase the suffering the mother goes through to the baby, to increase its murderous and bloodthirsty will, thus increasing the chances of success in the refinement, as well as increasing the rank of the GU to be refined. Now that I've reached the crucial part, I just have to wait. Chen Wei sits on a chair in the cell, observing Lin Shi writhing and screaming in pain as she tries everything to make the pain stop, but in vain, as he knows it won't happen. With each passing second, her screams and suffering increase. Suddenly, she stops moving or making sounds abruptly, which makes Chen Wei worried, and he quickly checks her condition. Did the refinement fail? Is she dead? He checks her and finds no signs of life, but also no physical damage that could have led to her death. Was the effect of the torment GU too strong and ended up killing her too? Chen Wei speaks with sadness, as this is not an easy or quick refinement to do. For him to try again, it will take another 2 months or more, and he can't let anyone discover this kind of demonic act of his. Well, it's not like everything was lost since I can still use the dead baby to increase my understanding of this refinement. He knows that in theory, if the refinement succeeded, a baby made of blood would explode from her belly and consume all the blood in her body to complete the GU's own nutrition, thus having a successful refinement. Well, at least this was a rich experience in this type of refinement. But when he goes to check her belly, he feels an extremely strong pain that seems to come not from his physical body, but from his soul. Arg! He screams as he quickly recoils, ending up falling to the ground, coughing blood and feeling blood dripping from his eyes, ears, and nose. Cough cough, fuck, don't tell me death. But before he could finish speaking, Chen Wei, in a deplorable state, collapsed on the ground, coughing blood, seeing a scarlet-red baby floating in the air, seemingly coming straight out of a horror movie. But luckily for Chen Wei, this baby doesn't attack him again, but instead goes outside the prison towards where the other guards are to attack them. Man, I was really unlucky. Just when it was my turn, the young master appeared. A middle-aged man with a bald head speaks while sitting on a wooden chair with both feet on the table. The vice captain is complaining with his mouth full. This little shit here next to me only had fun with the prisoner once, and he still finished in less than 30 seconds. A man with long hair, around 30 years old, starts teasing the youngest among them, who is basically a recruit from the guard team. Damn it, I've told you it wasn't just 30 seconds, you're making that up to anger me. A young man under 20 speaks with flames of anger burning in his eyes as he rebuts what his companion said. Even if it's true, he'll never admit it. Okay, let's not continue making fun of the lit, arg. Before he could finish his sentence, he feels a pain worse than he has ever felt in his entire life, but at the same time, he doesn't feel any physical injury being inflicted on his body. Vice leader. The other 4 guards quickly rush to him to check what's wrong with him, but they find no wounds or signs of poisoning. But before they could do anything to help him, the vice leader's body stops convulsing in pain as he dies without leaving a trace of what attacked him and could kill a rank 1 upper stage GU master so easily. Arg, help. But before they could process the death that just happened in front of them, the leader of the guards screams in despair as he too falls to the ground and starts convulsing in pain, unable to do anything. Damn, what the hell is this? Is a demon attacking us? Their despair comes mainly from the fact that they can't see the ghostly scarlet baby that floated out of the prison they were guarding before attacking the souls of both the vice leader and the leader of the guards. Even Chen Wei himself can only see the baby because he was the one refining the GU. Damn it, someone call the young master, he must know what this is. As soon as a guard finishes this sentence, the leader of the guards, a rank 1 peak stage GU master, is now lifeless, and another guard is lying on the ground, writhing in pain. Shit, the damn door is locked. The young GU master tries to open the door, only to find that Chen Wei had locked it because he didn't want any of the guards interrupting him during this important refinement. What should we do now? He turns to ask the only other GU master still standing with him, but he sees that this GU master is at least 10 meters away from him, running frantically as if his life depends on it, because he knows it does. But before he could distance himself much, he also falls to the ground, screaming in pain and terror as if he had encountered the devil himself while he writhes in a puddle of his own piss. Shit, why is this happening? I don't want to die. The young GU master, the only one left from the group of guards, falls to his knees on the ground, starting to cry desperately, but this doesn't save him when he feels something tearing and mutilating his soul with the greatest desire for vengeance possible. It doesn't take more than 10 seconds for the poor GU master, who is only at rank 1 middle stage, to turn into a lifeless body with an expression of horror and fear on his face. But while all this is happening, Chen Wei, who is still inside the prison, is healing while standing and leaning against the cell bars, his eyes showing the determination of someone who knows he will have to face a life or death battle. When this GU finishes killing the guards, it will definitely come to kill me. Chen Wei has no way to defend himself against this GU's attack, so he is preparing to refine the GU before it can kill him. Suddenly, Chen Wei sees a baby floating in through the wall as if it didn't exist and was just an image, or as if passing through a solid object was nothing unusual. It probably advanced to rank 2. Chen Wei realizes that the baby is larger, its color has changed from scarlet red to reddish purple, and it has a fiercer appearance, like that of a demon baby instead of a normal baby. The baby advances towards Chen Wei with a murderous intent in its eyes, beginning to scratch and cut his soul. Arg! Chen Wei grits his teeth as he resists the pain and at the same time starts using all his willpower to refine this GU, even with the tremendous pain he is feeling. Throughout this process, Chen Wei cannot divert his attention to anything else, but if he could, he would see that the blood killer GU is helping him resist the baby that is tearing his soul frantically. The baby continues to tear and cut Chen Wei's soul, using the parts it managed to rip off to absorb and become stronger. But it was still losing in speed to the refinement of the already experienced Chen Wei, who is using the fact that the baby is absorbing his soul as an advantage to increase the amount of his will he puts into the GU until he finally finishes the refinement. I did it. After what seemed like an eternity to him, Chen Wei manages to refine the GU before it could completely destroy his soul, but it was close. Without the help of the blood killer GU, he would have died like the guards or the prisoner. Damn, it hurts so much. Chen Wei collapses to the ground after successfully refining the GU, due to the damage he received and the exhaustion his body had to endure. How did this damn GU turn into a soul path? This is the biggest mystery and doubt for Chen Wei, who was refining a blood path GU that should never have done this, no matter what. Maybe because of the torment GU. Or was it because the GU was based on death essence instead of life essence? He has several theories that arose in his mind during this time, but now is not the time for that. After recovering enough, he begins to try to get up. Soul Path, this GU is even more special than Blood Path GU, since Soul Path shouldn't appear for at least another 200,000 years until the Spectral Soul Era. Chen Wei, after managing to stand up, walks unsteadily to the door before leaving and seeing the bodies of 5 guards, all dead with expressions of terror and horror on their faces. Anyone who saw this from the outside would think that this scene was taken directly from a horror movie. Shit, this is going to be really hard to deal with. These are GU masters, with one of them even being at peak rank 1. Hiding their deaths is impossible, and killing a GU master of the Heian clan is a very serious crime to commit. Chen Wei looks at the rank 2 GU, which has the form of a fetus in the first week of gestation, that is in his aperture. If this GU had managed to kill me, it probably would have advanced to rank 3. This experience was really valuable for Chen Wei. Since this is a Soul Path GU, how about changing its name to Blood Soul Baby GU? Chen Wei declares in the dead of night amidst the dead bodies of the guards, which have expressions of fear and horror on their faces. Anyone who saw this would think that this scene was taken directly from a horror movie. It's yet another desolate night descending upon Longwushan Mountain, faintly illuminated by a pale and forlorn moon hanging in the sky like an unreachable immortal fairy. In the streets of the Heian clan, pedestrians wander through dimly lit pathways, discreetly making their way to their homes or destinations. By now, those not afflicted by deep insomnia have long been in profound slumber for several hours. However, within a certain prison, the relentless sounds of flesh being cut echo ceaselessly, as if someone were incessantly carving meat for slaughter. Chen Wei is continuously cutting the bodies of the already dead guards lying on the floor outside his experimental prison. You damned spy, how much did Clan Fengji pay you? He shouts, putting as much feigned outrage into his voice as possible, yet his face remains neutral and impassive, showing none of the anger evident in his voice. Not only that, but he made a cut on himself, trying to make it appear as if he had been attacked from behind in an assassination attempt carried out by his guards. Of course, he had already informed his grandfather, telling him that the guards had entered the prison without his authorization to abuse the female prisoner, and that in a fit of rage, he killed them, needing his grandfather's help to clear the scene. You damn traitors, I'll kill all of you. Chen Wei shouts to deaf ears, as all the guards are dead, and there shouldn't be anyone in this area at this time of night. But if, for some reason, someone did happen to be here, he didn't want to risk his life being so easily exposed. The men my grandfather sent to help me incriminate these guards as traitors should be arriving soon, Chen Wei thinks calmly as he inspects the apertures of each of the dead guards to make sure they didn't have any GU that could record what happened. Most of them didn't even destroy their GU due to the despair and pain that engulfed their minds. After finding no GU that could record what happened, he personally destroys all the guards' SGU, one by one, before putting them back in their apertures. The next thing Chen Wei begins to do, in an orderly and calm manner, is to dismantle his experiments, as well as to dispose of the prisoners who were in the worst condition, one by one. It's best that only those who are undergoing light experiments remain, so as not to cause significant damage to my reputation. Chen Wei approaches the cell where the body of Lin Shi, the female GU master he used for the Blood Soul Baby GU refinement, is lying on the cold, dirty floor of the cell, lifeless, with a pale face and an expression of pain. But reputation is merely a tool to be used and discarded when necessary. Chen Wei climbs on top of the GU master while making her own teeth bite her tongue, making it look like she committed suicide by biting her tongue. And now is the time for me to discard some of my and my grandfather's reputation, as it is necessary for me. Chen Wei begins to injure Lin Zai's body to emulate those that would be made by someone trying to restrain a resisting woman. Soon after Chen Wei finishes, he hears the noise of the men sent by his grandfather to help him modify this place arriving in front of the prison, discreetly, but not escaping Chen Wei's attentive ears. Chen Wei quickly exits the prison to communicate with them. I hope you've taken everything I had prepared in advance in case something like this happened, and I encourage you to be quick, as I'll have to report this to the clan quickly. He, of course, being a prepared person, had already made a plan in case something like this happened, of quickly hiding his experiments and changing them for experiments morally acceptable by the clan if necessary in the future, and now that preparation paid off. It's as they say, a man who sleeps with a shotgun is a fool every night except one. Chen Wei thinks as he watches his grandfather's men efficiently change his experiments, which Chen Wei couldn't remove alone, and replace them with things that would be considered normal and correct. Of course, he doesn't care about appearing to be a good guy in front of the clan, as he plans to sacrifice his reputation, but he also doesn't want to worsen the already bad political situation he and his grandfather are going to enter. Have you prepared the GU from Clan Feng Ji? He asks the team leader standing beside him, as Chen Wei wants to make sure nothing goes wrong. Yes, young master, they're already placing them on the bodies, the leader replies as Chen Wei sees the GU masters placing GU from the Feng Ji clan, commonly used for espionage, in the apertures of the dead guards and then destroying these same GU inside the apertures. That's good. With such a good team my grandfather sent, they'll never find out the truth. He speaks confidently to the leader beside him, although he himself thinks that the clan's investigation GU masters and elders from other families will eventually discover that the spy story is false. Of course, Chen Wei hopes they won't discover anything, as that would be the best outcome for him in the end, but he doubts anything so good will happen. So he has prepared for when they find out that the spy story is false, so that instead of reaching the truth, they simply arrive at another lie that is pleasing to them, then stop delving deeper into what happened. That's why when he contacted his grandfather, he told him that he had killed the guards in a fit of rage after discovering they were abusing the female prisoner, and why he changed the scene of the event before his grandfather's men arrived. My reputation, in the end, means nothing compared to keeping the secret of the soul path, he thinks, knowing that while many mortals and GU masters will likely side with him when think they know that's what happened, but it won't change the fact that, according to clan laws, he committed a crime. This is a really unfair and cruel world he thinks because ultimately, if these guards were mere mortals, he wouldn't need to do anything to hide their deaths, as no one in the clan, apart from their families, would care about their deaths at the hands of Chen Wei, a talented grandson of an elder. But these guards are GU masters instead of mere mortals. But even if they were GU masters, if they belonged to other clans and the female GU master were from the Heian clan, the story would be different, and Chen Wei would be different, not needing a plan like the one he's executing now, as he would be hailed as a hero for defending a woman from the clan being abused by outsiders. But unfortunately, the actual situation is the opposite. Of course, the punishment he'll receive will be inconsequential to him, as public opinion will likely be mostly on his side, considering the disgusting acts committed by the dead guards. Even disregarding this fact, he still wouldn't be punished excessively, as he is an extremely talented grandson of the most influential elder of the Heian clan. But this is also the reason behind most of the political pressure he will face in the future, as his grandfather's enemies will surely use this opportunity to try to tarnish Chen Wei's previously impeccable reputation as much as possible. They will also use this opportunity to tarnish Chen Wang's reputation for breaking clan rules to cover up his grandson's crime. You might wonder why Chen Wei is being punished after doing something that would be considered morally correct even by most people in the GU world. Well, it's not because the guards didn't commit a crime. They did, and a very serious one in the eyes of the clan. But Chen Wei didn't have the right to judge them or execute the punishment, let alone with that punishment being death, which according to clan laws is an exaggeration that could even lead Chen Wei himself to be sentenced to death in the worst-case scenario. But since the guards also committed a great crime and Chen Wei had various factors to help in his defense, besides being the most talented youth of his generation, he will probably only have to pay a large sum in compensation, as well as apologize for his crimes to the guards' families. Well, since it seems your work is done, you can leave for my grandfather to send reinforcements, he tells the team that came to help him, a secret force of assassins and spies totally loyal to the Chen family, serving directly as well as being created by Chen Wei's grandfather. Yes, young master, we were never here. Their leader responds to Chen Wei, who, despite being Chen Wang's grandson, doesn't know the identity of these GU masters who use GU to disguise both their appearances and their voices. Chen Wei watches the GU masters leave without making much noise before receiving a message from his grandfather saying he sent the family's regular guards to rescue him and has already informed the clan leader and the elders about the spies and the assassination attempt. In the end, life is full of ups and downs, and now they will try to throw me into one of those downs, he thinks as he looks at the black and starry night sky with an unimaginable beauty that can leave people breathless. But it will be of no use, as reputation is nothing but hypocritical words and irrelevant opinions. In the heavens, he sees various stars and constellations that would be totally unknown to someone coming from Earth, like him, but at this point, he's more accustomed to the stars of this world than those of Earth. For in the end, in this world where spiritual essence is rich and immortal cultivation is possible. He clenches his fists as he closes his eyes to better contemplate the calmness of this cold night that gives him a sense of peace and satisfaction that was lacking in his life on Earth. Only strength matters. He finishes his thoughts on his greatest conviction, which grew strong after reading the novel, and became even greater after he reincarnated into this cruel and bloody world. Let's hurry. Your presence has been requested in the main hall of the clan. A small group of GU masters walks escorted by an elder through the corridors of the grand main palace of the clan quickly, their faces showing nervous expressions. The corridors they walk through are exquisitely decorated to express the material and historical wealth that the Heian clan presents after being the strongest governor of Longwushan Mountain for 537 years. These decorations are mainly made with blue sapphires that legends say originate from the Eastern Sea, with the walls full of patterns and paintings that demonstrate important historical moments for the clan. Some depict the humble origins of the clan, which was founded by a mere rank 3 who lived in a merchant caravan before deciding to create the Heian clan. Even a painting from when the first rank 5 emerged in the clan in the year 139, which to this day is one of the most taught dates for young people in the academy and is considered by many the most important moment in the clan's history as a whole. We welcome the elder of the Internal Affairs Hall. The 2 guards guarding the door of the clan's main hall bow respectfully to the elder leading the group of GU masters, allowing them to enter only by checking the GU masters without even touching the elder. The elder begins to open the large door, which was made using giant blocks of a celestial blue sapphire that legend says originates from one of the mysterious and powerful immortals that are the greatest legends of this world. The door is also decorated with gold, which, despite not being a rare metal in this world, is a perfect match for the Heian clan, which has gold as its secondary color. In fact, most things in the clan use this combination of navy or celestial blue and gold. So shortly after I realized something was wrong, I saw two guards fall to the ground quickly. As the elder and the group behind him enter the clan's main hall, they see Chen Wei explaining what happened to the other elders and clan leader once again without the slightest hint of laziness. But thanks to my keen senses after returning from the war, I was able to quickly use the blood armor before the attack could hit me too. Chen Wei vividly recounts the story, making sure to slightly change his way of telling or small details each time to make the story seem more believable to the clan elders. Of course, because of the strength of the assassin's attack and the fact that I wasn't prepared, the attack still hit me, but it wasn't a deep wound. Despite not having this wound now, no one doubts this fact since the elder of the healing hall elder personally checked and confirmed that he did indeed have a wound on his belly that was healed. And so after resisting the attack, I killed all three assassins after a difficult fight, but before he could continue his explanation, the elder of the Internal Affairs Hall enters the hall, bringing a small group of GU masters with him. I greet the clan leader and the other great elders of the clan. Despite being the leader of the Internal Affairs Hall and being very important here because of the fact that he not only allowed spies to infiltrate the clan but also almost succeeded in assassinating the most influential elder's grandson, it is a big problem for him, so he is being as respectful as possible to not anger anyone. All the clan elders who lead a hall nod as they sit in a semicircle with the clan leader in the middle and the two most important elders beside him. It's about time. These are all the ones who investigated the backgrounds of the guards and found nothing. Chen Wang speaks with an irritated voice and expression that he has been showing since he arrived here because his grandson is being interrogated like a criminal. Chen Wang is sitting in the chair to the right of the clan leader, marking his status as the most important elder of the clan, and in front of him is a plaque engraved on a black metal like the night that reads, Chen Wang Strategy Hall Elder. Strategy Hall Elder, I understand your feelings, but please do not go overboard. A man with long silver hair and a face full of wrinkles speaks to Chen Wang with a certain provocation in his words. On the plaque in front of him is written, Shuyang Unity Hall Elder. He is Chen Wang's biggest political rival within the clan and is seated just to the leader's left, marking his position as the second most important elder of the clan, second only to Chen Wang in influence and power. Unity Hall Elder, how could I not be dismayed when, due to your influence, my grandson is being treated as a suspect in his own assassination attempt. This is the function of the Unity Hall, to administer the unity of the clan and resolve conflicts and problems before they escalate, in addition to having some influence over which matters go to the Justice Hall for judgment. Although this appears to be a responsibility that should fall into the hands of the Internal Affairs Hall, this is not the case for several reasons, most of which boil down to basically when the halls were created, it was like this, and no one has the will or courage to change that tradition. Well, could you two esteemed elders please stop the political disputes for now? A middle-aged man with a friendly and jovial look speaks, trying to resolve this conflict. On his plaque, it is written, Zhongning Diplomacy Hall Elder. He is the leader of the third largest faction within the clan, but despite this, he has never entered into major conflicts with the other major factions since his faction serves more as a place for elders and GU masters who do not want to deal with politics and its various complications can enter. Well, gentlemen, could you then explain to me how, despite your investigations, 3 spies with murderous intentions managed to enter the clan? Zhang Ning speaks politely and humbly to the GU masters who were called here for questioning. In fact, this kind of attitude extends even to clan mortals, making him the most beloved elder by the common people of the clan. Yes, elder sir, we did everything according to our training and practical experience. The leader of the team bows before the elders as he begins to explain the meticulous investigation procedures they followed, trying to prove their innocence. I tend to doubt this story because if all the investigation procedures learned in training had been followed, the spies would not have succeeded in infiltrating. Peng Du speaks with a bit of emphasis in his voice as he looks angrily at the GU masters in the middle of the hall, who, if he could kill with a look, would already be dead. This anger comes from the fact that he is a major political rival of Chen Wang, so he wanted to use this opportunity to blame him for the spies who almost killed his own grandson, but since the GU Masters mentioned their training, he had to interfere and discredit the GU Masters instead of Chen Wang as he wanted. This is because anyone who looks at the plaque in front of him could guess, as it reads, Pengdu Training Hall Elder, so if they had failed to find the spies due to inadequate training, it would be his responsibility and not that of the Internal Affairs Hall. Well, we cannot dismiss the possibility that the blame lies with inadequate training. An elder speaks quickly, as if he has seen a light at the end of the tunnel or a last lifeline and grabbed it without hesitation. Pengdu looks angrily at the elder who just spoke. He is ignoring his gaze as if he didn't exist, but anyone here also understands why, as he is Taiji Internal Affairs Hall Elder, which basically means he is the biggest culprit of what happened here, so he is trying in every way to shift the blame to someone else. Enough of this unnecessary political interrogation you are putting us through. I declare Chen Wei innocent for practicing self-defense against assassins and do not need any more questions. A old man declares with a neutral expression on his face as he delivers the verdict he considers just and correct according to the laws of the clan. And for you GU Masters who were responsible for investigating the backgrounds of the guards, you will be demoted to recruits again and punished with 3 months of imprisonment and 50 lashes each when you leave prison. He speaks with authority, as his words are law even for the current clan leader, let alone the elders and these mere rank 2 and 1 GU Masters. On his plaque, the inscriptions of Wang Su Justice Hall Elder make those who do not know him understand his authority, but within the Heian clan, it is almost impossible to find someone who does not know him because of his elevated status. He is the brother of the old clan leader and the uncle of the current clan leader, so because of the family relations that are extremely important in the clan system, not even the current clan leader can openly oppose his judgment easily. Of course, if he were to make a decision that was completely outside the laws of the clan or what could be judged as logical and correct, the leader, as well as the elders, could go against him, but there is a problem that prevents this from happening. Wang Su is what can be called a truly just man, which for the elders and leader of the clan is a blessing and a curse at the same time, as he would always act justly according to the law without caring about the political consequences of his actions. This characteristic has made him an elder admired by the common GU Masters since he never acted unjustly by favoring people due to favoritism or bribery, but he also caused problems for the elders for exactly the same reason that made him admired. Thank you, Justice Hall Elder, your judgment is fair and correct as always. Chen Wei bows respectfully to him according to the traditions and rules of the clan, as he does not want to upset the man who has just judged him innocent. Thank you for your magnanimity, Justice Hall Elder. The GU Masters who were judged but received a penalty that is neither too lenient nor too punitive but exactly what they deserved kneel with their heads touching the ground in reverence. The Justice Hall Elder continues with a neutral face as if nothing were happening, before the clan leader waves his hand for all who are not elders to leave, which the GU Masters and Chen Wei promptly do. Many hours after they leave, Chen Wei, who stayed in front of the clan's main hall door, sees his grandfather come out with a tired expression as he approaches Chen Wei. Little Wei, later I will talk to you about the details of this meeting that you are authorized to know, but know that there will be a major investigation into the background of the guards and into your laboratory. Chen Wang speaks with dismay, as he probably fought hard to prevent this from happening since there is a much greater chance for their secrets to be possibly discovered afterward with this investigation. As they converse, Chen Wei sees some elders who remained silent during almost the entire discussion leave calmly, without a trace of the fatigue that his grandfather has, as this subject hardly matters to them. These elders are Mo Chang, the Academy Hall Elder, who quickly approaches Chen Wei while praising him for his strength advancement and talking a bit about Wang Mei, who is in the academy this year. Shortly after, a kind-looking elderly lady approaches him and checks if he is in good health after the assassination attempt, inviting Chen Wang to have tea later. This lady is Li Ming, the Healing Hall Elder, and a great friend of his grandfather. Then 2 old men, one using a cane and probably nearly 100 years old, pass by them and greet them quickly before continuing on their way. One is Huang Yang Spiritual Hall Elder, who is basically responsible for administering the clan's spirit spring and the production of primeval stones, but despite his influence due to his age, he does not get involved much in the clan's politics. The other old man with him seems young compared to Huang Yang. This other old man is Ximang Tradition Hall Elder, who basically has no real power and is responsible only for preserving the clan's historical artifacts and maintaining the clan's traditions and stories. Finally, the last of the elders who remained quiet during the meeting, a middle-aged, overweight man with a melancholic appearance passes by them, quickly greeting Chen Wang before leaving. This man is Li Gang Commerce Hall Elder, responsible for both the clan's trade and finances, and he has been in this melancholic and deplorable state since the war started, and it worsens every day. Chen Wei looks at a cup of tea that has been impeccably prepared with incredible culinary skill, besides having a scent that makes anyone's mouth water who senses its aroma. This is the so-called essence of white lotus tea, and it is his grandfather's favorite, who specially hired a famous chef Gu master from the clan just to make this recipe for him every day. Chen Wei calmly takes a sip of the tea, which is much better than any other he has had on earth or in clan shops, but after so many years of drinking it every day, it's not as special as it used to be when he was a child. It would be nice if I could find coffee. He thinks since he used to have a strong habit of drinking coffee when he was on earth, but after coming to the GU world, he found nothing similar in the Heian clan. Chen Wei, are you paying attention? This is an important matter. He hears his grandfather speaking with an irritated voice, so he lifts his head to look at his grandfather and sees him also with a cup of tea in hand but an irritated expression on his face. Chen Wei looks around the room to see his father, who has a serious look on his face as he reviews the data and information, which are a basic summary of what happened in a GU that was given to him by Chen Wang. I apologize for the distraction, I momentarily lost myself in thought. But to your question, grandfather can ensure that they will find nothing incriminating in the laboratory. Chen Wei speaks seriously and composedly, but his thoughts still wander in relation to the tea, which according to his knowledge from the novel is simply an incomplete GU recipe of the food path. In fact, this applies to most foods, wines, and teas that are enjoyed by the immortals. Chen Wei is not sure if the same applies to this high-quality tea enjoyed by his grandfather, but considering that this tea only uses rank 1 materials and costs at most 20 primeval stones, he doubts that this is the case. Well, because of my influence and the just attitude of that old bastard Wang Su, the investigation will only be routine to check if the spies did not set up anything in the laboratory. Chen Wang speaks cautiously to avoid revealing more than he can, as this could cause him to suffer great harm because of the clan vow GU, which is a special GU of the clan used to make agreements and keep secrets that, if broken, would lead to the death of the GU master. Grandfather, could you tell me how the investigation will be conducted and what methods they will use? For Chen Wei, this kind of information is already redundant since there is nothing he can do now, but it is still of interest to him to know. Well, you do not have authorization to know that. Chen Wang repeats a phrase that Chen Wei heard most during this conversation they had, but there is nothing he can do about it. Poison-type GU are really scary if put into practice, but the biggest problem is that they are still very impractical. Chen Wei speaks because despite the name not indicating it, this clan vow GU is a poison path GU that has an extremely strong effect to give a quick and painful death to the GU master who disobeys the vow that was accepted. But despite being quite strong in attack, the poison path, at least in the Heian clan, is not cultivated by many people, well excluding assassins of course, because for them, this is their preferred path among all. This mainly comes from the fact that this is not a completely established path yet, with most of its methods being unorthodox and focused only on the attack, leaving other aspects of cultivation lacking. From everything I've checked, I assume it will be difficult for them to uncover the truth, and if they do, it will take at least nearly a year of investigation. Chen Liang, who is quietly analyzing all the information, reaches a verdict and informs his father and son in a serious and straightforward manner. I also have the same analysis, but after so many investigations, they would have suspicions, and just that will be enough for the other elders to be able to attack me as well as the little Wei. For Chen Wang, the concern of the truth being really discovered and his grandson being punished by the clan is almost nil, so his real concern lies in the reputation of himself, his grandson, and his family, which will be attacked when the investigations generate these suspicions. The other great elders really fear the recent rise of my Chen family, and the same goes even more for the clan leader. This fear comes from various factors, the main one being Chen Wang himself, who in the opinion of many has an influence that only loses by a small margin to the clan leaders, and this is because the leaders' faction has 2 rank 4s despite one of them being almost dying in bed but still is one of the pillars of the leader's influence. Also, what scares the clan leader and the other elders the most is the terrifying future potential that the Chen family presents to the clan as a whole, since they have 4 potential rank 4s for the relatively near future. With the first being Chen Wang, who has been at peak stage rank 3 for some time and with a B grade of 74% primeval essence besides his talent and abilities, which are publicly known as some of the greatest within the clan. Many consider it only a matter of time before he breaks through the rank 3 barrier and reaches rank 4. In fact, most elders, as well as the clan leader, imagine that he is just waiting for an opportune moment to try to advance to rank 4 with all his might, thus being able to use their family connection because of Chen Wei and Wang Mei's marriage to claim the position of vice leader of the clan. This is a position that exists only when the clan has more than one rank 4 who is physically and mentally fit and can only be occupied by someone who is from the clan leader's family or has a family connection with the leader's family, this being the main reason for Chen Wei's marriage. And for now, none of the elders want to see Chen Wang, who became known for his political skills and enormous battle strength as well as brutality and cruelty to his enemies, which allowed him to raise the declining Chen family, which was being suppressed by all the other great families of the clan, to be the current strongest family in the clan, even reaching the point of being a possible coup threat against the current leader's family. But in the eyes of the clan leader, there is an even greater threat, and that is the second greatest potential rank 4 of the Chen family, which is Chen Wei, who, with his innate talent as well as practical talent, is already being considered as an addition of a new rank 4 to the clan, with most people easily believing that he can reach rank 4 before 30 years old. Some even say he has the potential to reach the acclaimed rank 5 in this lifetime. The reason why in the eyes of the clan leader Chen Wei is even more frightening than his grandfather comes from 4 facts: his age, his status, his talent, and his relationship with Wang Mei. In the clan leader's view, if Chen Wei had only one of these characteristics, it wouldn't be a concern. If he had 2, it would be a minor problem. If he had 3, it would be a major problem, but all 4 are a horrifying nightmare for the clan leader. In fact, the clan leader foresaw this problem long ago, so since Wang Mei was young, he turned her against Chen Wei, which had a great effect since she grew up hating her future husband. But to the clan leader's despair, all it took was a single meeting for all that hatred he saw to turn into love somehow. And considering the great talent for cultivation and great combat strength that he presents, besides who his grandfather is, the clan leader sees a possible future where the Chen family will have 2 new rank 4s with great combat strength and a good justification for a possible coup. And this is only the best case scenario because it is entirely possible in the eyes of the clan leader that Chen Wei manages to manipulate Wang Mei to the point of making her betray her family for him, making his faction gain another future rank 4 since she has an A-grade innate talent. And besides these potential rank 4s in the near future, there are the 2 last potential rank 4s of the Chen family, who are still in the distant future. These are Chen Ming, who is publicly recognized for being the strongest of his generation in the Heian clan, and he is already at the upper stage rank 2, it's only a matter of time until he reaches rank 3. And the last potential rank 4, which is more of a worst-case scenario for the clan leader and the clan elders, is if Chen Hua, the youngest daughter of Chen Liang, also has great cultivation talent, which, considering the rumors of the little girl's high intelligence, is quite possible. Well, little Wei, everything you needed to know has already been said, so now I ask you to leave me alone with your father. Chen Wang speaks with some complication in his voice since he really loves this grandson of his besides considering him the future of the Chen family, but at the same time, he is quite angry about the great mistake that Chen Wei made that caused all this problem for him. I bid farewell to the honorable grandfather and father and apologize for my mistakes that put grandfather in this situation. Chen Wei says with a regretful expression on his face and bows respectfully to Chen Wang and Chen Liang before leaving the hall for important meetings at the Chen family mansion. When Chen Wei leaves the meeting room, he sees 2 GU master guards, one on each side of the door in attention position, prepared to prevent anyone from forcibly entering. Young master. Chen Wei waves his hand indicating that formalities are unnecessary as he makes his way towards his room calmly and without haste as he looks at the exquisite paintings and statues that line the hallway. His attention is soon taken by a statue made entirely of marble that resembles those made by renowned sculptors on Earth, with the only difference being that it is completely colored realistically and exquisitely, which would make someone think they are really looking at a real person if seen from afar, unlike those on Earth that are usually all white despite presenting the same level of realism. He and Chen Wei. He murmurs softly as this is the statue of the most renowned member of the Chen family who ever lived, and it was also he who inspired his father to give his name when Chen Wei was born. A rank 4 of the upper stage, enough to suppress the current clan leader, but in his time, he was just a great elder. This comes from the fact that this ancestor of the Chen family lived during the time when the clan leader had a rank 5 cultivation, besides the leader's family of that time having another rank 4 as well. After looking at the statue for a while, Chen Wei continues on his way until he reaches his room where he sees a maid in front of his room waiting for him. When the maid sees Chen Wei approaching, she approaches him with a charming smile on her face and bows before him before saying, "Young Master Chen Wei, your future wife Wang Mei came to check on your condition but as you were in an important meeting. She has been waiting for you in one of the guest rooms." "Ah, Mayor came to see me, what a pleasant surprise. Please, take me to the guest room where she is." Chen Wei feigned surprise in front of the maid, as inside, he had already expected the girl to come check on his health after hearing what happened, as she always visits him after he returns from a mission. "With pleasure, young master," the maid called Sui Yi bowed before Chen Wei again before heading to the guest room, closely followed by Chen Wei, which made her feel a bit nervous. This maid is becoming quite audacious with her attitude. These are Chen Wei's thoughts as he calmly follows behind Sui Yi. Despite her composed and calm words, Chen Wei still easily perceives the disdain and anger in her expression and tone of voice. "It's not against me, she probably hates and envies Wang Mei or something like that." This isn't the first time he's come to this conclusion, seeing Sui Yi's behavior, and the conclusion comes from the fact that this maid has always acted in a way to try to be seductive, offering several opportunities for Chen Wei to take her to bed since he was younger. In fact, Chen Wei is almost sure that if he were to drag her to one of those random guest rooms in the mansion to take her to bed right now, Sui Yi would accept instantly while following Chen Wei with a smile from ear to ear on her face. But to Sui Yi's disappointment, her expectations won't be fulfilled because Chen Wei has no desire to bring another problem into his life just to have sex with a random maid. And well, you might wonder why sleeping with a mere mortal maid who is his personal servant could bring great problems for Chen Wei if discovered. Well, it can all be summed up in one word: culture. For example, if Chen had been born in one of the barbarian tribes of the northern plains, not only would he have no problem taking this maid to his bed, but he would even be encouraged by everyone to do so as if it were his responsibility to show his high virility in front of the rest of the tribe. Or if he belonged to one of the clans of the Eastern Sea, which are more liberal and, according to his teachers, cultural and ethically decadent, he could be sleeping with all the maids in the mansion as well as routinely visiting brothels, which wouldn't be a big problem for his reputation. But he lives on the southern border, so if he merely touched this maid in a way that could be seen as improper and someone found out, it would be enough for the clan leader to break off his engagement with Wang Mei, destroying the carefully crafted plan by his grandfather. Of course, this is assuming that someone found out that the two were doing something indecent and had concrete evidence. So, it's not really a big threat, otherwise, his grandfather would never have let him have such a beautiful and young maid, fearing that Chen Wei might fall for her charms. But his grandfather's plan in giving Chen Wei such a young and beautiful personal maid was quite the opposite. It was meant to make him accustomed to being constantly tempted and to build up enough willpower to resist the lust and temptation that a beautiful woman can give him. He knows this is his grandfather's goal because Chen Wang was quite clear with him about it when the maid started serving him when he was just 11 years old, and she was already 16. And Chen Wei fully agrees with his grandfather's training since despite not being an innocent young master who never had a relationship with a woman since he was already a young adult on Earth, he knows that the temptations he faces in the GU world are immensely greater, especially because of enchantment path and emotion path, and other things that exist in this world. She probably considers the opportunity to seduce me as her great fortuitous encounter. Chen Wei sighs as he thinks about the maid's intentions, who purposely walks in front of him to give a seductive view, attempting to seduce Chen Wei. This girl is innocent, too innocent for this world. Chen Wei knows that if he were to really fall for the maid's seductions, he would have to kill her after, and that's if his grandfather didn't kill her before he had the chance, but this maid doesn't seem to think about this obvious outcome of her actions. He bets that in her mind, what would happen is that after they had sex, she could simply walk away as if nothing had happened, and later, without any consequences, she could reveal what happened, which would force Chen Wei to marry her, or she might be so foolish as to think that he would fall in love with her after she gave her first time to him. In fact, now that he thinks about it, this girl's plan is almost the same as Shen Kui's plan with Feng Zheng, which is something completely stupid to do with someone who isn't a complete idiot like the early novels Feng Zheng. Well, and this plan would only work for Shen Kui, of course, if the customs of the southern border are still the same after so many years, which Chen Wei thinks is the case because of what he read in the novel. Sigh, in the end, this is the plight of the weak who have no choice but to submit to the strong. Chen Wei has always had a great interest in the human path, so it has become a habit of his to try to understand the mentality and feelings of the people he knows, as well as to try to put himself in their shoes to better try to understand their hearts. Your future wife is in this room, young master. The maid stops in front of an exquisite and sophisticated visitation room as she speaks to Chen Wei before bowing even further, standing beside him at the door, but Chen Wei waves his hand for her to leave. Mayor, I heard you came to see me. I couldn't wait to see you either. Chen Wei knocks on the door before opening it to see Wang Mei sitting in a luxurious armchair, looking bored but with a worried expression on her face as she watches a cute liquor worm swimming happily in a glass full of wine. Ah, Chen Wei, are you okay? I was so worried. Wang Mei quickly jumps out of her chair and delicately rushes towards Chen Wei, trying to maintain some level of elegance as she approaches him before kissing him and wrapping her arms around his neck. You idiot, I was happy wanting to show you my new GU and you make me so worried like this. She says as she backs away from Chen Wei after realizing that her attitude was inappropriate, even with their status as engaged, although she almost always does this when she sees him after he returns to the clan, to the point where her maid teases her about it. These kinds of things happen to us talented children of important people, but don't worry, I won't happen to you. Chen Wei strokes her head to comfort her since he doesn't want to see her sad, as over time he has really started to care about her even though he wanted to avoid it. It would be very easy for an outsider to say that those who have loved ones or people they love and care about in the GU world are stupid because of the nature of this cruel world, or that Chen Wei should have a similar attitude to Fang Yuan in the novel. But these people fail to realize that the indifferent and cold attitude toward the world, capable of ignoring one's own emotions and sacrificing everything for eternal life, like Fang Yuan's, is not a norm, not even among the Venerables. In fact, it's almost unique to him and led him to achieve the great success he had in his life. Because even among the Venerables, few had the ability to become indifferent to the world while pursuing a totally selfish goal that for everyone else is just a crazy dream, like Fang Yuan's are limitless. For example, a venerable like Red Lotus lived countless lives and went through countless sufferings and difficulties just to save the life of the love of his life, and even after failing, he decided to do everything in his power to destroy Fate GU and free humanity from the shackles of fate. Or the first primordial origin Venerable, who lived his life for the sake of humanity and its prosperity without ever asking or expecting anything in return for his efforts and sacrifices. And so the list goes on with Giant Sun, who loved his various wives and descendants a lot, or Paradise Earth, who lived his life as a Buddha to help people and to heal the GU world from the unrestrained killing of Spectral Soul Era. Even less so for normal people like Chen Wei, who live mortal lives that don't even compare to those legends of human history, who even after living thousands of years and seeing and doing unimaginable things still had feelings or emotions. Furthermore, the thought of living in this world or any world without making connections with other people who could be relatives, friends, or lovers is completely unrealistic and something only a fool would think possible. Even Chen Wei, who always considered himself someone with few feelings, has done acts that would be enough to classify him as a despicable psychopath in the eyes of many, but he still feels emotions, and after living here for so many years, he obviously cares about his family. HMPH, I'm already in upper stage rank 1, so if they come, they'll know better. Wang Mei speaks proudly of her recent cultivation advancement, for which she was highly praised by her father and grandfather, who gave her a rank 1 water dress GU as a gift, which is a quite strong GU in defense and has a better effect when used by women. And, well, I remember someone also promised me a gift when I reached the upper stage. Wang Mei blushes as she tries to hide her face while averting her gaze from Chen Wei, which leaves him a bit worried about what gift she will ask for, since before he only planned to give her a rank 1 pearl necklace GU, since he knows that this GU would be great for her. Well, you know, I've been thinking about a GU recipe, but I don't have the refining skills to try, and since you already have plenty of experience in refining new GU, I want your help with the refining. Chen Wei fully understands why the girl is so nervous about her request, partly because of her own personality but mainly because asking someone to refine for you a GU that you created yourself and are not sure of its safety is a bit of a taboo. Especially when this request comes from a girl who has just begun her cultivation journey and doesn't have much idea of what is correct or not, which could make this recipe impractical or even dangerous for whoever refines it. Ah, we're not even married yet, and my wife is already trying to kill me. Well, I'll refine this GU for you since I promised you that, right? Chen Wei speaks, wanting to tease the girl because he finds her shy reactions cute, but he only receives a small weak punch in the ribs before hearing her murmur something he didn't understand, but when she hears the second part of his words, her face quickly lights up with happiness as she kisses him again. Thank you so much, love, I promise I'll reward you later, but not in that way. She quickly blushes as she tries to clarify the meaning of her words after thinking about the wrong interpretations Chen Wei might have of her cheerful and carefree words. Chen Wei quickly picks up a GU containing the information and refining materials for this GU she imagined, although he plans to change much of what's written here since he doesn't plan to create a new GU for the girl, he still needs to know the basic idea of the GU by heart. But after inspecting the content of the GU, he has an impressed expression on his face, partly because it's considerably skillful and with few mistakes for a girl who has just started refining. But mainly because of the GU itself, which Chen Wei found impressive. Who would have thought that I would see a recipe that is almost from emotion path made by a girl who has just started in cultivation? Yes, the emotion path is what came to Chen Wei's mind when he saw the GU, which is still a water path but has, in his eyes, even greater potential. Its name is Flowing Emotions GU. Serene water, turbulent water, murky water, you were truly quite innovative in utilizing the properties of these waters to theoretically create a water path GU that can affect emotions. Chen Wei is reviewing the recipe for the Flowing Emotions GU, which has been modified by him and Wang Mei several times throughout the day as they strive for perfection before truly beginning the refinement of the GU. Yes, I had this idea after drinking one of the teas my father enjoys, as the tea made me feel radiant and excited. Well, that's partly true, as although the tea inspired Wang Mei to create this GU, she based her creation on tonics that she saw in her world that promised miracles like curing all sadness and providing maximum energy, rather than the teas themselves. Of course, as a high-class lady, she never even visited the fairs selling these tonics to test their effectiveness, but based on what she heard from her father, she believed they were nothing but scams targeting the poor masses, who were a significant part of the population. After starting her studies in a new branch of science called psychology, which focused on the human mind, she became even more skeptical of these remedies, popular among the lower class as miraculous cures. But in this world of magic, where miracles considered imaginary by her are commonplace occurrences, like people creating fireballs or controlling furious waves of water, everything she deemed impossible was daily life for others. Now I understand why everyone calls him a genius. These are Wang Mei's thoughts after being impressed by how easily he grasped the concepts behind the GU, and with her help and his own understanding of GU refinement, he perfected the recipe, making it much more stable and secure than the original one created by Wang Mei. Well, from what I see, there are no major errors or compromising factors in the recipe, so we can start now. Of course, they are no longer in one of the visiting rooms of the Chen family mansion but are now in Chen Wei's private refining room, with all the necessary materials for refining at hand, as Wang Mei came prepared, and even the new materials added to the refining were easily brought by Chen Wei's servants. You can assist me, but due to the dangerous nature of the refinement, don't let your guard down. Chen Wei warns her, and he himself is particularly vigilant as he refines a GU that is not in his specialty path. Although it's not the first time, and he has quite some experience with water path, but due to its emotion path characteristics, he still feels some apprehension towards this GU. Chen Wei begins the refinement by taking 4 jars of water, each containing a different type of emotional water. This water is commonly used by GU masters in high-quality tea recipes when they want to induce a sense of calmness or happiness in those who drink it, much like what inspired Wang Mei to create this GU. Most GU masters never stopped to ponder why these waters have these effects, and even if they did wonder, they would hardly discover the real reason. Even Wang Mei, who plans to use this effect, has no knowledge of why it occurs, but Chen Wei is fully aware of the intrinsic reason, not only for this but for all GU effects. In the end, all these effects and results, which according to the books and knowledge taught to him by his teachers, only within the clan have various different theories and explanations battling among themselves to prove which are correct or not, all come down to one thing: Tao marks. And this knowledge, along with the scientific and methodological knowledge he acquired from the novel, has been his great ally, allowing him to advance much more rapidly than the rest of the clan members in his research. Of course, his immense talent also contributes significantly to his progress. Mayor, observe carefully, as this is a good practical example of refinement for you. He carefully pours each of the waters one by one into a large basin with an oyster in the middle, ensuring to use the correct dosage, starting with the serene water, then turbulent water, murky water, and finally, cheerful water. As soon as the 4 waters are in the basin, they begin to react chaotically as the different emotions clash with each other but remain in a stalemate, with no emotion gaining dominance due to being perfectly balanced by Chen Wei. In the midst of all this chaotic water, there is a celestial blue oyster, which, left unchanged, is just a common oyster, but anyone from the Heian clan would recognize it as Valentine's oyster, one of the main gifts given by young people asking for a girl's hand in courtship. Now it's your turn, be careful, Mayor. Chen Wei makes room for Wang Mei to finish the refinement. Although ideally, he would want to complete the whole process himself, he realizes the necessity of her emotions for the GU refinement to be correct, since the GU would need an emotional connection with her. Wang Mei quickly approaches the GU refinement and retrieves 9 pearls of different colors, each known to represent a human emotion. She then carefully arranges the pearls inside the water basin in a way that begins to stabilize the chaotic emotional situation. You may feel at some point that your emotions are easily variable and out of your control. He was in the middle of reviewing the refinement steps for her when he realized something went wrong, and the refinement was about to fail. However, Wang Mei didn't notice the imminent failure due to her lack of experience in GU refinement. Chen Wei quickly, without bothering to warn Wang Mei, pulls her away from the basin full of water and refining materials while trying to bring the refinement under control to prevent it from exploding in his face, since he knows that failing in a refinement always leads to significant consequences. Chen Wei, why you? Wang Mei, who is pushed forcefully, doesn't have time to finish her question to Chen Wei before she sees a celestial blue glow engulfing him, followed by a loud explosion sound and large amounts of water flying everywhere, soaking the entire refining room but causing little damage to almost anything. Chen Wei, are you okay? She quickly rushes towards him without even worrying about her own condition, which was also slightly affected by the failed refinement, her heart growing heavier and more melancholic with each step, her concern for Chen Wei's well-being at its highest. Oh God, please let him be okay. She doesn't have a clear view of his physical state due to a thick mist of water and smoke surrounding the failed refining place, but when she gets close to the mist, she can see Chen Wei standing still, unharmed, with no visible injuries, but he seems to be in a trance as he gazes into space. Damn, I'm useless, how did I fail at such an easy refinement? These are Chen Wei's thoughts as his heart fills with melancholy and desolation, almost bringing him to tears of sadness. Arg, these servants must have bought defective materials. But these feelings are quickly replaced by anger and fury at the failed refinement. In fact, if he saw any of the servants who purchased these materials in front of him, he would give them a good beating to vent his rage. Well, so be it. But just as quickly as the anger arrived, it also dissipates as he calms down. Actually, this is a great learning opportunity. Soon after, he feels quite pleased to experience this refinement failure, as it could give him more experience. Of course, all this emotional turmoil and constantly shifting emotions are not his immaturity, but rather one of the negative effects of failing in refinement. as he feels a soul-crushing pain and a deafening buzzing in his ears that prevents him from hearing anything. But before he could calm his emotions, he feels a tight squeeze and something wet on his chest. When he looks down to see what it is, he sees Wang Mei embracing him tightly, crying with her head buried in his chest, worried about Chen Wei's state. He can see her mouth moving as if she's speaking, but he can't hear anything. "You idiot. Thank God you're okay." Wang Mei hugs him tightly, afraid that if she lets go, he might die. Normally, she wouldn't be in such a desperate state, but the emotional effect of the failed refinement has also affected her, leaving her in a more precarious situation due to her lesser emotional control than Chen Wei. Chen Wei, still under the influence of his uncontrolled emotions, hugs her back, trying to calm himself and bring his mental state to one where he can make sound decisions, as well as attempting to refine the GU again. In a few minutes, the deafening buzzing in his ears subsides, and he manages to regain control of his own emotions. But it doesn't end there, as he spends the next half hour trying to calm Wang Mei, assuring her that he's fine, that he loves her, and that nothing bad will happen to her. In fact, witnessing the state they both ended up in has changed his opinion of emotion path from considering it a path with no offensive potential, more like a gateway to wisdom path, to now being extremely alert and cautious about the means of this path. I'm already fine. Do you want to continue the refinement today? Wang Mei speaks, feeling embarrassed, as even though she was under the effect of the chaotic emotions of the failed refinement, which were several times stronger than her genuine emotions, that doesn't change the fact that she cried for half an hour in his arms while asking him to say he loves her repeatedly. "Well, I'm already in the right state, so once you fully recover, we'll try the refinement again." Chen Wei speaks calmly, not bringing up the tearful and pitiful state she was in just a moment ago, as he himself is shocked by how much their emotions were affected. So, shortly after Wang Mei recovers, they begin refining the GU again, but not without failing once again before succeeding. At least this time, their mental states were much better prepared, and Wang Mei gained an experience that neither she nor Chen Wei realizes now, but will be the first step for her to make the emotion path known to everyone in the future. Squeak squeak, a small rat in its last moments of life screams in panic, but despite several rats running towards him, none of these rats come to his aid. In fact, as soon as the first one approaches close enough, it bites him while beginning to devour the still living rat. And this is just the first, because a few moments later, even more rats arrive, which also begin to bite and tear its body apart, providing a sight that could shock someone with a weak heart or unaccustomed to seeing blood and death. And in itself, this was not a unique occurrence. In fact, it was something that was happening continuously inside a large cage that housed hundreds of rats, as if it were a utopian city created for the development of rodents. The more I research, the more I cultivate, the more it seems that all paths are interconnected. Chen Wei is the only person in this dark room of a new research laboratory that he made after his old one had to be abandoned because it was now under investigation by the clan. And even when the investigation is over, he won't feel safe to return to conducting his experiments there. This kind of thing will be impossible in immortal cultivation. Just as the Tao marks will be of great help and usefulness to him for achieving better effects in both his experiments and cultivation, because they have the effect of amplifying the strength and efficacy of the path to which they belong if used by the GU master. But nothing in this world is perfect, so they have the side effect of strongly conflicting with each other if they do not belong to the same path, even if the difference is minimal, like the ice and snow path, which, in Chen Wei's eyes, should be considered the same thing, but from what he read in the novel and from his own musings, they would still conflict with each other. But even this negative effect has something beneficial, since due to the conflicts of the Tao marks, the attacks directed at any immortal who does not belong to his path will also be weakened, as well as decreasing in efficiency and effect. A very interesting thing is that for now, all this concept of path and attainment is more of an comprehensive concept that can be applied to the real world like mathematics. He says this because a path is not an absolute thing. Besides, strongly the concept of something being or not a path is just the interpretation of people, since we have in history several examples of paths that were widely used despite only being officially created eras later. A great example of this is the water path, which according to the novel only officially became a path in this era in which Chen Wei is living, but according to history and legends as well as concrete facts, the mermen cultivate this path since Ren Zhu still walked this world. But even so, the humans of this world consider the creator of the water path as being the human named Shui Ni, of which Chen Wei only knows the name because the novel does not go into details about this cultivator, and as he has no connection with the immortal world, he still doesn't know if she was already born or if she has already died and how long ago if that's the case. And now I am in theory using 3 paths of which 3 do not exist and one of them never even appeared in the novel. Chen Wei has a deep look as he looks at the chaotic and killing situation that falls upon the rat cage he himself created and nurtured to the point of being home to hundreds of rats. Firstly, I am using my specialty to increase their desire for blood as well as making them heal when they drink the blood of other rats and also strengthen themselves after drinking blood. Besides, apparently they are increasingly resembling more a mixture between rats and bloody creatures. Secondly, it would be the emotion path, which was a great inspiration, and even though I don't show much talent for this path, with some questions and tips that he asked Wang Mei, he managed to modify the psychological and mental of these rodents to make them enter into a frenzy of uncontrolled bloodthirst. Of course, the effect is only so great because of the simple and easily manipulable mind of this animal, and the same would be impossible to do with a human at the level he is now. And finally, this concept comes entirely from Earth and was not even presented in the novel. It is what the people of this world would call a modified version of the poison path that sacrifices lethality for infectivity and has already been promptly named by Chen Wei as disease path. However, for now, he does not have the talent or time or resources to develop this into a real path. In fact, until now he has not even created a GU of this path. He has only made use of the rabies disease that some of these rats presented to increase their lethality, besides possibly planning to create chemical weapons in the future. Imagine how good the idea would be for him to create a disease that is equivalent to the Black Plague, release it into the GU world, and wait for the damage to be done to the point where everyone will be doing everything and willing to give everything for a cure for the disease, and after that, it's just profit. You can imagine this kind of transaction where the other party has no choice but to accept his price or Chen Wei's favorites. Of course, all this thought is more like an imagination or simply a situation that he can see with the potential of the disease path, but that he probably will never do because he does not have the necessary means, or when he has the necessary means he will already have even better means in blood path, so this money-making opportunity would be useless. I wonder to what extent everything can become a path, maybe even the technology of my world. These thoughts of Chen Wei have been going through his mind for a long time, especially for paths that at first glance would seem weak or harmless, like food path, which actually is one of the most useful and strong among all paths, to the point of even being able to revolutionize GU cultivation, being the second path with the most potential in this aspect, only losing to pill path. So maybe he can use the technology of his world like AI, robots, automations, factories, internet, among other various technologies that allow the existence of the modern world, that even a fool can see the extreme potential of this even more in the GU world, where he can prevent the secret of these technologies from leaking, beating them in his immortal aperture when he becomes an immortal. These thoughts would be much weaker in his mind if he didn't have confirmation based on the novel that Thieving Heaven managed to bring the technology of his world to this one, to the point of even creating a mecha armor. Now tell me, what do you think a rank 9 AI GU could? Maybe it could even surpass the capacity of the rank 9 Wisdom GU. But even with all this potential, he still isn't taking steps on this path. In fact, there are several paths similar to this in potential that he thought about over the years but didn't cultivate for a reason of having a weak base strength at the beginning of cultivation, or he doesn't have a practical way of cultivating them. Of course, someone could say the same for blood path and question why he simply doesn't cultivate the water path, and the answer is simple: because despite the blood path not existing yet and he having to deal with the problems of being a pioneer, to two things that he doesn't lacks in this path is his own talent and cultivation resources. In fact, the cultivation resources are so available that even with the explosive increase in people cultivating the blood path, the price of blood has almost not increased. In fact, now that there are GU that can more efficiently store blood, the price of blood has even decreased a little for a time. And Chen Wei doesn't expect this fact to change very soon, since even in the era of Fang Yuan, where the blood path was repressed and persecuted, it was still famous for being the path with the lowest refining and feeding costs, with a demonic GU master of the blood path only needing to kill a few hundred mortals to already have all the necessary resources for his cultivation. And Che Wei is now putting to the test this great immense advantage that he is sure will become famous in the future when he becomes an immortal and people start to know the blood path for its impressive demonic capabilities. And how he is putting it to the test, you may be wondering. Well, that is actually quite easy to guess, since Chen Wei is standing in front of a cage full of rats that are killing each other because of his manipulations, and anyone who knows him knows that he is not a sadist who takes pleasure in seeing death, or that he would waste his time creating these rats just to kill them later for fun. In fact, he has created these rats for a long time for several reasons, but this result today is simply as a result of a recent inspiration that he had after helping Wang Mei refine a GU that has characteristics of the emotion path, besides his research on transformation path having given some results. The final moment has arrived, so now it's just waiting for me to be lucky. Chen Wei murmurs these words after noticing that only one rat remains alive of all the hundreds of original rats that were killing each other in this breeding ground. It is a large albino rat big enough to make someone from the earth who sees him startle before wondering how he got to such a large size, especially seeing its body that is covered from head to toe in bite scars and claw marks. While he is in the middle of a pool of blood, drinking everything he can as fast as possible without ever losing his alertness, which is definitely a habit he created after going through the bloodbath Chen Wei made, but he doesn't even need to finish drinking all the blood puddle because the blood around him quickly enters his body of its own accord. But it doesn't stop there, because the blood of all the dead rats begins to gather around him and forcibly enter his body, healing all his wounds until the scars disappear, besides strengthening his body to a point that not even a normal rat should reach in its life. The rat is desperate, as if it were facing the gates of death, besides the pain it feels with all this blood modifying its body being something desolating even for the rat that had the strength to be the survivor of this rodent bloodbath. But as a light at the end of the tunnel for the poor rat, it feels a human blood entering its body that, instead of causing pain to it, gives it a sensation of refreshment and familiarity, mainly when it begins to feel a certain blood connection with a human that it had already noticed observing it for a long time. But now every time it looks at this human, only one thing comes to the rat's mind: family. This human is his family. But the rat's torment was not over, because quickly it feels as if its body is being reconstructed rapidly. The rat, of course, has no notion of this, but this is the effect of the transformation path GUS that Chen Wei is using in this refining, which are rat head GU, rat limbs GU, rat claws GU, rat fangs GU, etc. Finally, at the end of the process, Chen Wei has a smile on his face as he looks at an albino rat that has scarlet eyes as red as blood and is much larger than before, now reaching the size of a medium-sized dog. The rat is standing while looking around, curious, probably because of its new sense of smell, vision, and hearing much better than before. It looks at Chen Wei but not for a moment thinks about attacking him, because for the rat's senses Chen Wei is his family, blood of his blood. Ha 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 ha. I did it. I really want to rest. This process really spent a lot of mental energy of his, but Chen Wei doesn't complain much as he extends his hand to stroke the rat's head, which lets him stroke it while behaving like a pet. Already Chen Wei has a proud smile on his face as he looks at the fact that is the result of more than weeks of hard work of his. Chen Wei looks at a lifeless body on the ground beneath his feet. This body belongs to a young GU master from the Feng Ji clan who probably had a family and dreams for his future. But now all that remains of him is a mutilated body with an expression of horror and deep panic. Chen Wei, who is standing on his body, is also his murderer. But in the presence of the young man's motionless body, he feels no fluctuation in his emotions. In fact, even if the young man had knelt and begged for his life, it wouldn't have given him a single extra second in this world. After killing as many times as he has, most people would become somehow desensitized to human death. He just became so more quickly because of his own tendencies that were never awakened in his peaceful life on Earth but are perfect for the cruel GU world. Tai Pai, have you managed to locate where the rest of them ended up? Chen Ming asks him, because the mission they are currently part of aims to locate and eliminate a group of spies who may have obtained compromising information from the clan and are trying to take that information back to their original clan. It won't be necessary for him to try to do that. Queek already has the scent of their blood memorized. There's nothing they can do to escape his scent now. Chen has a large albino rat with red eyes by his side, sniffing the corpse at his feet while consuming the dead man's blood. A sight that can truly unsettle some people, but the members of this team are beginning to get used to it. Since Chen Wei returned to the group after spending 2 months cultivating in the clan, He has demonstrated several advances he made during that time to his teammates, with the main one being his cultivation, which is now at rank 2 middle stage, great progress for his age within a clan in a war situation like Clan Hien. Among other significant advances that even surprised his grandfather was the creation of 3 more rank 2 GU by Chen Wei, who is becoming increasingly proficient in identifying and using various bloods from animals and people for his refinement. The first of these rank 2 GU is the blood tracing GU, which basically assists Chen Wei in the matter of movement. Specifically, he can move quickly while leaving a trail of blood wherever he goes. Additionally, if he were pursuing someone that is bleeding, he would become faster than usual. The second is the Blood Eyes GU, which is the rank 2 version of the GU that helped Chen Wei the most. Among all those he created, this GU greatly aided in spreading the blood path among the people of the clan by helping to end ambushes that the clan constantly suffered. Now that it is rank 2, its ability to locate and discover blood has become even greater. Lastly, there is the rank 2 non-bleedable GU, which of these 3 has the most impressive ability according to Chen Wei because it allows, no matter the size of the cut or wound, to prevent bleeding, thus preserving a person's life in a desperate situation for an almost indefinite period. Squeak squeak, the rat quickly begins to squeal while staring fixedly in one direction, trying to signal to the group that he already knows where the spies are and that they should follow him to get there. If this rat is right, it's going to be impressive. Chen Ming looks at the rat, whose white fur is stained with blood and dirt, and who now seems to have located the fleeing spies, even though they are definitely using GU to hide. It's not as if Chen Ming hasn't seen a demonstration of the abilities of this rat or its ability to obey Chen Wei above all else, since he needed a guarantee that the rat wouldn't get in the way of his missions. So this ability to locate something by its blood is not new to him. What impresses Chen Ming is that it was actually able to do the same with these spies who have various disguises and methods to evade pursuers. His question to Tai Pai was more of a routine inspection, as he was sure he couldn't have located the spies using his bad echolocation, even if he spent hours searching around. No matter how great their means or how skilled they are, in the face of my blood path, they are just meat for slaughter. Chen Wei murmurs softly, feeling a certain inspiration from the kind of advantage a new path that is still in its infancy can give someone even when dealing with great experts. Ha ha ha, well then, why don't we follow this little rat at once? Huang Bi, as always, shows his fierce and indomitable personality. Among this group, he is the one with the greatest combat intent, which, according to Chen Ming, is not entirely his personality but in part because of the rank 1 tiger instinct that he used to better connect with the tiger strength GU type. This rat really seems useful. Where did you find it? Are there more where you found it? They would be very useful for location missions. Yachun is a little curious but quickly becomes disappointed when Chen Wei tells him that this is the only rat of its kind and that he found it by chance. Well, it's not time for that because now that we have a target ahead, we just have to start the hunt. Chen Ming is only slightly less animated than Huang Bi, as he will gain great merits and honors for capturing these spies who are fleeing. Hey old man, are you sure this place is safe? Because my senses are telling me that something bad might happen. A man of common appearance wearing modest clothes that would never set him apart from the other thousands of mortals, making him almost imperceptible to the disdainful gaze of all the GU masters. But this man is now doing something that could shock everyone who knows him and considers themselves close to the young man who has always been just a mortal all his life but is now using GU with the greatest naturalness, as if it were no more difficult than breathing. You young ones are always so impatient and hot-blooded. I assure you, with my over 30 years in this type of work for the clan, none of them will be able to locate us, no matter what method they use, even if it's that bleeding eyes GU. An old man with a white beard and hair that resembles the appearance of a harmless neighborhood grandpa, and unlike the man next to him, has a belt with a badge in the middle with the number 1 written on it and 2 lines below the 1, placing the old man as a rank 1 middle stage GU master. Well, and besides, at this moment, they must be heading in the wrong direction because of that young man from our clan. Despite his gentle and friendly appearance, this old man is a true demon who has been trained since he was young to serve and be loyal to the Fengji clan. So, for him, sacrificing an innocent was more a matter of whether it was a good way to throw off his pursuers than whether it was morally right, as the old man cares little about the morality of it. Well, if you say so, Those bastards from Clan He and Air really planning our destruction, right? The man who pretended to be immortal nods as he begins to check a GU that contains much of the information they managed to steal from Clan He and after spending much of their lives infiltrating the clan. These damn bastards are really shrewd. They plan to put us in a precarious situation in the meantime and wait for the wolf pack that comes in 2.5 years to destroy us completely. Despite his anger, this is not a great novelty to him since most well-informed people already thought that this was Clan He An's plan anyway. So if that was all the information they had, they would basically be useless as they would have only discovered the obvious. But what they have in their hands are actually several detailed attack plans from Clan He An as well as information the clan gathered about the bases and camps of the other 2 clans on the front line of the war. What will be the situation of our clan? The man in mortal clothes sighs as he looks into nothingness with a certain melancholy because he knows the difficulty his clan will go through. But also the happiness in his heart as his time as a spy is over, he can return to his family to be an honored member of the Fengji clan. Squeak squeak, but as he looks in a random direction amidst his thoughts, he suddenly sees an albino rat larger than any rat he has ever seen appearing among the branches of a tree and then looking directly at him. But before he could say anything or at least react in some way, a figure moving at a speed too fast for someone who is merely at rank 1 peak stage like him to keep up with appears, with the only thing he can clearly see being a trace of blood left behind as if what was advancing against him were bleeding. Shit. Despite having almost no time to defend himself, and because of his rigorous training, and the fact that even though it seemed like he had let his guard down, this couldn't be further from the truth as he always kept his guard up no matter the situation, so even with little time and preparation, he still managed to activate his defensive means. Then, quickly around him, a yellow crystal armor appears like armor taken directly from the fiction tales that people on Earth dream about and tell in films and stories. But the armor lasts not even a second when he receives 8 consecutive cuts, with 2 cuts on each limb, making it so that even before he realizes it, he is without arms or legs. But even in a situation like this, not a drop of blood falls from his body. In fact, not even his body managed to fall to the ground as quickly vines like ropes wrapped around him, preventing him from falling or moving in any way, not that he could in his current state. At this moment his mind is almost overwhelmed by pain, but he still puts his training into practice when he tries to activate a GU in his aperture to take his own life. But before he could do anything, a bald man who runs extremely fast for how fat he is quickly approaches him and puts his hand on his belly. Before he could even use his GU, his aperture takes on a rock-like appearance, and while he loses connection with all the GU that belong to him, and worse, he can't even bite his own tongue because his movements are restricted, so he is completely immobilized while the fat man runs towards the old man now. Of course, if he could move his head back to see the situation in which the old man is, he would know that their situations are the same, which for both is something desperate as Clan He and has various ways of treating and obtaining information from spies, of which until today none has been heard of as being gentle. Are they still advancing? A weary Chen Wei speaks with some difficulty breathing after a day of arduous and exhausting combat and battle. He now has a moderate cut on his chest that seems to have been made by an animal, but it's the result of a GU master from the Xianxia clan who fought using a saber made from a giant bear claw, which is probably the effect of some GU. They've stopped their advance, they must be regrouping to try to break through the defense line again. Chenming speaks while using primeval stones to recover his primeval essence. Maybe they're waiting for reinforcements. Maybe they just gave up, ha ha ha. Ya Chun mutters while drinking a bottle of wine without caring about the battle situation they're in. I don't blame them because the situation their clans are in is desperate. Ning Yun speaks sincerely while exerting almost all her effort and attention to heal the wound on Chen Wei's chest, which is quickly closing until no one can tell he had a cut there. Squeak squeak. Shortly after Chen Wei is healed, the albino rat named Queek arrives in front of Ning Yun like a docile and well-behaved pet, waiting for her to heal him too. But anyone who had seen this rat on the battlefield would know how dangerous he is. In terms of strength and speed, he has something comparable to a rank 200 beast king, and he can physically recover from wounds by consuming blood. Moreover, he has demonstrated great combat intelligence, making him much more formidable than many other beasts with his strength. In fact, the only reason he came to Ning Yun for healing is that his wound is too large to heal just by consuming blood. This wound is the loss of his tail, which was held by a GU master from the Xianxia clan who intended to use this weakness to immobilize and kill Queek. But he quickly cut off his own tail and retreated from the battlefield. At this rate, it won't be long before the rank 3 elders start fighting on the front lines too, maybe at the end of this year at the most. Chen Wei, also recovering his primeval essence, gives an opinion on the war that is unanimous among many GU masters with insight into the course of the war. To him, this realization comes neutrally, even a bit excitedly, as a more intense war would be beneficial for the development of the blood path. Difficulties, in Chen Wei's eyes at this point, are nothing but opportunities for him to become stronger. But in the eyes of the majority of the clan's GU masters, it's terrible news because in the worst-case scenario, this war could weaken all the clans to the point where none of them would have the strength to resist the wolf tide, and they would all be exterminated. Chen Wei himself doesn't escape this risk, but he has long planned that if this worst-case scenario happens, he still has the ability to escape with his family or alone and try his luck as a demonic GU master, maybe even try to find a certain blessed land that would be inherited by the 3 kings in the future. Most of the difficulty the clan faces today is because of the confidential information that was leaked. Tai Pai's statement brings Chen Wei back to the missions of hunting and eliminating spies that he and his team carried out a month ago, that they managed to complete thanks to Queek. At the time, Chen Wei had no idea how many spies had obtained confidential information and how many of them were trying to escape the clan's pursuit. The only thing he knew was that the ones they were chasing weren't the only ones. But now, just over a month later, there's no one in the clan who doesn't know the extent of the information leak, to the point where some people joke that the leaders of the Fengji and Xiangmao clans now know more about the Heian clan than the leader of the Heian clan himself. It has reached the point where Tai Ji, the elder of the Internal Affairs Hall, is now being investigated while being held in some secret cell of the clan, while the clan leader and the elders try to determine if he's a traitor or just too incompetent. Not that this changes much, as he will be executed for treason anyway. Well, for Chen Wei, this situation is also a big problem because he will have to fight a lot on the front lines to stabilize the situation. But there's also a positive side, as the investigation about him has been completely paused while the elders solve more urgent problems, and they only plan to restart the investigations about him next year. Well, this is the last opportunity for the other 2 clans, so they will give it their all because it's either win now or be exterminated in the wolf tide for them. Despite Chen Wei having the idea of conquering the other 2 clans and assimilating them when he becomes the leader of the Heian clan, many times plans don't follow circumstances, with this being the main reason he has several backup plans even for situations that seem impossible to happen. These GU masters from the Xiangmao clan are really taking their time to advance, and it's likely they're waiting for reinforcements. Chenming speaks with a sigh because the luxury of being able to request reinforcements at will is not something the team leaders of the Heian clan have, since the clan hardly has enough manpower to maintain this front line stably, much less to send reinforcements indiscriminately. This doesn't come from the fact that the Heian clan is weak or has few GU masters capable of combat, because in terms of strength, the Heian clan is still slightly stronger than the other 2 clans combined. But this strength and dominance have now become a problem for them because the territory of the clan is much larger than that of the others, and they are having to fight a war on 2 fronts, making the front lines of the Heian clan much thinner and overwhelmed. And yet, until less than a month ago, amidst all these disadvantages, the Heian clan was the one on the offensive, continuously pressing the other clans without giving them a moment to breathe. And although the situation has now changed, and the Heian clan is being pressed and forced to remain on the defensive, the situation still remains desperate for the other 2 clans, who even after using the advantage of knowing most of the weaknesses of the Heian clan's front line for the past month, and secret bases and supply points, still haven't managed to break through the Heian clan's front line. It can be said that the other 2 clans are squandering this divine opportunity handed to them on a silver platter, which, along with the fact that this offensive has caused an unimaginable number of casualties for the clans that were accustomed to remaining on the defensive, fighting a guerrilla war of attrition, makes many of the GU masters of these clans consider deserting their clans and fleeing from Longhua Mountain. I have bad news for everyone. The Piercer of the Heavens has entered the battle and is attacking the front line. Chen Ming, as the leader of the team, has a special GU to receive information given by the Strategy Hall about the front line of the war, and now this information has given him the reason why these GU masters from the Shang Mao clan stopped advancing. Has it been confirmed if he succeeded? This question posed by Chen Wei passed through the minds of all the members of this team. He was just the first to say it out loud. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but everyone responsible for obtaining information considers that he succeeded in his breakthrough. Chen Ming's expression is complicated as he thinks about the great advance made by this great enemy of his. This breakthrough Chen Ming is referring to is the cultivation rank advancement of the Piercer of the Heavens, who has been at the rank 2 peak stage for a good while. So for someone as talented as he was, it was only a matter of when he would advance to rank 3. And after he withdrew from the war just before Chen Wei did the same, everyone speculated that the reason was for him to attempt a breakthrough, which quickly became an open secret for all the GU masters of Longhua Mountain. And now that he finally returned to the war after 3 months with such enthusiasm and confidence, it's possible to imagine that he must have succeeded, as well as easy to imagine that since he is the son of the leader of the Feng Ji clan, he must already have his entire arsenal of GU refined to rank 3. An emergency order has been given for all guard posts near the Piercer of the Heavens, attack to reinforce the base that's being attacked, and it has been confirmed that he has reached rank 3 cultivation. Chen Ming, as the leader of one of the teams that will have to reinforce the attacked base, knows the danger they will face as they try to prevent the Piercer of the Heavens from breaking the defensive line for long enough time for a clan elder to come protect this base. Everyone, listen up. By order of the clan, we will abandon this defensive position and reinforce the low-pay base. This is a mission of extreme importance and difficulty. Chen Ming is already used to seeing death for a long time, but like any normal person, he still feels a little nervous when he throws himself into a mission like this. I recommend everyone make peace with their inner demons, because I guarantee that this team will not return without at least one casualty. Chen Ming has a serious expression as he declares this in a clear and loud tone, but neither in his face nor in the tone of his voice can anyone see a hint of fear. He is determined to fight with all his might, even if it leads to his death, because for him, this is his duty as a proud GU master of the Heian clan. A group of GU masters make their way through Longhua Mountain with serious and concentrated expressions on their faces as they move at an impressive speed for anyone observing from afar. This is the group led by Chen Ming, who, by order of the clan and his decision, is heading to reinforce the low-pay base, which is currently under attack by the recently advanced rank 3 Piercer of the Heavens, who holds a deep hatred against Chen Ming due to the death of a close friend. We're almost at the site of the low-pay base, everyone be prepared. Chen Ming does everything to ensure that the team members are as prepared as possible, as even the slightest mistake could lead to their swift demise. Chen Wei, who is to the right of Chen Ming, uses a GU to communicate with the large albino rat running alongside him to tell him to hide in the battlefield and remain undetected by everyone, only acting if Chen Wei's life is in mortal danger. Of course, Queek by himself doesn't have the ability to hide from the detection of GU masters, but with the effect of the rank 2 transformation path insidious rat GU that Chen Wei applied on him, no one below rank 4 would be able to detect him while he hides. By the way, the GU used by Chen Wei to communicate with Queek is called the Blood Love GU, which has a utility completely different from what its name might indicate, thanks to Wang Mei, who named it that way. Damn, how many more reinforcements are coming? Amidst the constant noise of attacks and cries of GU masters being wounded, this was the most frequently asked question by GU masters on both sides. Mortal killer move, bloody sword killer cut. Without the slightest hesitation or compassion, Chen Wei quickly advances into the battlefield and with just one strike kills the rank 1 peak stage GU master who was shouting for reinforcements. Behind him, Chen Wei hears loud and thunderous sounds like those of a tidal wave caused by Chen Ming entering the battlefield with full force, determined to kill and die. You've finally arrived. By the end of this day, I swear by Ma Jie, I will have your head on a stake. Chen Wei quickly looks at the man called Lu Wei, who is the source of this voice and also the only rank 3 in this battlefield for now. Lu Wei, also known by his title of Piercer of the Heavens, has a gaze full of hatred focused on Chen Ming, the person he holds great animosity towards for the death of a close friend, without even blinking as he begins to prepare a killer move. Mortal killer move, wind that pierces the heavens. As quickly as expected from the most publicly recognized genius of Longhua Mountain, he finishes his attack, and a large amount of air furiously advances forward with the intention to kill at an inhuman speed. As fast as his attack comes, Chen Ming's defense arrives, creating a large wave of water resembling a tsunami in front of him as he advances towards the killer move without the slightest fear. The GU masters of the Heian clan beside him don't stand idly by and quickly use defensive GU to intercept the killer move on its path, while the GU masters of the Fengji clan take this opportunity to advance and try to break the defenses of this base. Chen Wei quickly moves out of the attack's perimeter while engaging in combat with a rank 2 GU master from the Fengji clan who planned to sneak into the base and launch a sneak attack on his enemies. "You've become quite bold, youngster." Chen Wei hears from the side as a man in his early 50s roars and signals for his subordinates to take action. Quickly, various air funnels form along the path the killer move will travel, and together they begin to suck in some of the air and consequently the force of the attack as it passes through them. This is one of the major disadvantages of becoming famous, as many people know you and know your power, so only a fool wouldn't spend time thinking and creating ways to deal with a great enemy. And these wind funnels that suck part of the power of the killer move are just one of possibly dozens that exist against the piercer of the heavens. In fact, the same goes for Chen Ming, and someday in the future, it will also apply to Chen Wei, who until now hasn't faced major problems due to using an innovative and never-before-seen path on Longwushan Mountain. But Chen Wei himself is prepared for the moment when GU masters from other clans and even from his own clan discover ways to deal with the blood path, especially when he enters the immortal realm and has to deal with wisdom path specialists. As the killer move approaches to confront Chen Ming's defense, its strength already decreases by about 40%, but still causes great difficulty and effort for Chen Ming to resist it completely. Rank 3 middle stage already. Chen Ming has a complicated expression on his face that hides various emotions he's experiencing with the discovery of this fact. Since this was the first large-scale attack by the Piercer of the Heavens, despite knowing his status as a rank 3 GU master before, only now does Chen Ming realize through his own experience that he is in the middle stage, not the initial. He fully realizes that no matter how talented someone is, they wouldn't be able to advance from the rank 2 peak stage to the rank 3 middle stage in just 3 months naturally, so there are only two alternatives to how the Piercer of the Heavens achieved this. The first is that he had already advanced a long time ago but was hiding his cultivation, which is highly unlikely since hiding a rank 3 cultivation from the watchful eyes of the Heian clan's great specialists who were monitoring his every move was impossible, and it makes more sense for him to reveal his cultivation when he advances as he did now. And the second, and more likely, is that he somehow got his hands on a white-silver relic GU, which to Chen Ming is quite unlucky for Heian clan, as since the war began and merchant caravans stopped coming to Longwushan Mountain, the number of relic GU has decreased enormously, making even a green copper relic GU extremely rare to find, let alone one that advances the cultivation of a rank 3 GU master. Haha, it seems that this new generation is more cunning than an old guard like me. I really didn't expect to see you here, but you came. I can only imagine Chen Wang's rage now, haha. The muscular old man who led the attack to weaken the power of the killer move approaches Chen Ming rapidly and starts talking to him. Po Neo, he's in the middle stage, probably using a relic GU. Chen Ming doesn't beat around the bush with the old man's banter and quickly informs him while using his information GU to inform all the team leaders of the clan as well as the strategy hall. Oh, that's unfortunate. The old man called Po Neo quickly stops his jokes and laughter as he begins to make plans for countermeasures to this unforeseen event. Chen Wei, who is far from this situation, fighting with a rank 2 GU master while trying to conserve his primeval essence, already knows about all the events since he was one of the first to be informed by Chen Ming, who ordered him not to get close to the Piercer of the Heavens for any reason. Not that I needed the warning for that. This is his thought as he uses an opportunity of a weakness in the enemy's defense that he saw due to his relatively extensive combat experience. In the blink of an eye, the previously relatively well GU master from the Fengji clan now has his arm cut off and a look of pain and despair on his face, but to his misfortune, it doesn't end there as Chen Wei quickly delivers another blow that perfectly hits his head, splitting it in 2 parts and killing him instantly. But before Chen Wei could focus on another target or perhaps take the initiative to go on the defensive, he hears a sharp noise resembling small blades cutting through the air at high speed coming towards him with a killing intent that could daunt someone with a weak heart. Chen Wei, who has developed a deep and intense fighting instinct, quickly uses the Blood Chief armor GU as naturally as if this act were as natural as moving his fingers or breathing. Shortly afterward, he feels several small cuts made by what seem to be small blades but have incredible force hitting his body, causing him to move a few meters before standing without the slightest injury due to the blood armor. Chen Wei doesn't waste any time and quickly looks in the direction from which the attacks that hit him came, already having various thoughts about who was the person who attacked him in this way. He quickly sees a woman who appears to be around 25 years old. She wears an elegant white dress, which complements her skin as pale and white as jade, and her most striking characteristic, beautiful white hair that reminds people of the cold and distant maidens from stories. Feng Hua, or should I call you Winged Viper, to what do I owe the pleasure of catching the attention of one of the beauties of Longshan Mountain? Chen Wei looks at the elegant woman who is famous as one of the greatest beauties of Longshan Mountain, competing head-to-head with Wang Mei and a female GU master from the Xiangmao clan. This woman is an adopted daughter of the leader of the Fengji clan, with her original parents being two ordinary mortals who lived in a village that belonged to the Fengji clan. However, as her older sister married a Fengji clan GU master, she had the right to participate in the awakening ceremony, where she awakened a B-grade talent and was quickly adopted by the current clan leader. Oh, the famous and feared Blood Prince knows this lady. I am truly honored, you know, I've always admired great and strong warriors. Despite her delicate, elegant, and even somewhat cheerful words that seem to indicate some kind of admiration for Chen Wei, she is already launching more attacks in a cruel and cold manner. For Chen Wei, he feels a certain kind of excitement since Feng Hua is not only known for her beauty but also for her strength, which is quite significant among the rank 2 upper stage. And as Chen Wei's battle with Feng Hua begins, on the other side of the battlefield, Chenming and the Piercer of the Heavens lock eyes from afar, both with a determined look in their eyes. This determination comes from giving their all to kill each other and avenge their fallen comrades, no matter what. This is the determination of warriors who no longer fear death and now have only one thing on their minds, and that is to fight. Bro, holy shit, my country's fucking government is having a tantrum because of some of Elon Musk's tweets. Pora intankavelobostil. I need to get out of this fucking country while there's still time. All hail our great and enlightened never wrong Supreme Leader Alexandre of Morals, affectionately called Zandao Cabeza de Piroca. Cut. Chen Wei began the fight with Feng Hua with full intensity, each of his attacks focused and with only one purpose, to kill the enemy. Feng Hua, despite having the appearance of a fragile and vulnerable girl, skillfully dodges a blood cut aimed at her chest, but shortly after dodging, she has to do the same again because of a cut directed at his clavicle. You live up to your reputation, Blood Prince. After saying this, a strong wind, like that of a jet, pushes her back quickly away from Chen Wei, who has no way to stop her and can only watch her action helplessly. But quickly, Chen Wei attacks her despite the distance, using arrows made of blood that fiercely attack at a fast and steady speed, with precise aim acquired after much time of hard practice. Scream, but before the arrows can reach her, two large wind vipers form in front of Feng Hua and advance indiscriminately, placing themselves in the path of the blood arrows as they move to kill Chen Wei like animals crazed by the desire for blood. Chen Wei quickly finds himself in the middle of a pincer attack of two gigantic vipers made of air, which open their mouths, with sharp teeth like razor blades of furious air, and bite him as if he were their prey. That's almost a killer move, your talent is truly impressive. Chen Wei speaks with a calm tone as he creates two blood shields on each side of him to delay the air vipers attacking him. The vipers, instead of avoiding the shields, attack them with all their strength, trying to break them as quickly as possible before they can continue to attack Chen Wei. Low mobility and dexterity. He murmurs softly while advancing fiercely towards Feng Hua like an animal that has caught the scent of blood. But moments after Chen Wei begins his triumphant advance, he feels the ground beneath his feet shifting, as if he were stepping on water instead of solid ground. This sudden change causes Chen Wei, who is advancing at great speed, to quickly lose his balance, forcing him to think quickly to get out of this situation. Shit. But even before he has a moment to think, he sees the ground beneath his feet morphing into several spears resembling stalactites but on the ground, made of earth with properties similar to quicksand but much more potent. Thanks to his rich 1 year of experience as a GU master, Chen Wei acts quickly, putting his hands in front of his body and creating blood shields between him and the earth spears. Of course, he also has the blood armor on his body that he has been using since he entered the battle. Impact quickly, the various spears attack Chen Wei, trying their best to veer around the shields on the way, leaving them with only the choice to hit his hands, which are defending his vital parts, causing him to be thrown several meters into the air. Now that Chen Wei finds himself flying several meters above the ground, having a phenomenal view of almost the entire battlefield, which stretches for hundreds of meters and is populated by hundreds of GU masters from both clans. But Chen Wei's thoughts are not on the battlefield or Feng Hua, whom he was previously trying to kill, but rather on the GU master who attacked him using Earth Path methods. Earth Path is truly incredible, truly worthy of being a path of a future venerable. This thought of Chen Wei comes from the sensation of blood trickling down his hand and arm, despite his blood armor not being broken. This is probably some effect of a possible Earth Path GU that is capable of piercing Chen Wei's armor and dealing damage directly to him without even needing to break his armor first. Of course, the damage it seems capable of causing for now seems quite minor because otherwise Chen Wei wouldn't be dealing with bleeding but rather the total destruction of his hand and arm, perhaps even his death if the GU could cause the full damage of the attack while avoiding the blood armor. Scream taking Chen Wei out of his thoughts. He hears and sees the two vipers attacking him in a pincer formation again, with even more conviction because he has no ability to dodge in the air. Quickly, a large shield of blood forms beneath Chen Wei's foot, using it as a temporary platform for him to swiftly make a powerful leap towards the Earth Path GU Master, who is now Chen Wei's main focus to kill. Finding that bastard would be a difficult and arduous task without the blood eyes. This is Chen Wei's opinion after discovering the location of the GU Master, which would go unnoticed by the majority of GU Masters from the Heian or Fengji clan. Quickly, which he uses the blood shield beneath his foot as a temporary platform to quickly make a large leap towards a random spot in the middle of the battlefield that would not draw anyone's attention. I found you, friend. Quickly, the blood flowing from Chen Wei's hand is shot towards this part of the ground with full force, piercing the ground in several places, which if it weren't for the blood stains would make anyone who sees it later think it was done by the piercer of the heavens. Some GU masters who watch the battle from afar or who participate in it question themselves the reason for these illogical actions, like attacking the ground for no reason, that Chen Wei did. But they didn't need to think much, as the moment Chen Wei lands on the ground, he quickly plunges his hand into the holes in the ground made by the blood perforations and pulls out a mangled body of a GU master from the Fengji clan. As he looks at the body in his hands with a pensive look and checks his aperture, which have 5 dead GU, Chen Wei receives a communication from Zhen Fu, his teammate. I think this belongs to you. Chen Wei throws the body to Feng Hua, who, seeing the body of a member of her clan being thrown at her, has an expression of hatred and disgust as she dodges to the right. Calm down, I can't lose my temper and fall for his provocation. But shortly after she takes a step to the side to dodge the corpse coming towards her, Feng Hua steps on a seed of a plant that explodes. In an instant, her whole body is being squeezed and strangled by strong vine tendrils that emerge from the ground endlessly. And to make her situation worse, Chen Wei is once again advancing towards her with the ferocity of a tiger descending from the mountain to declare its rule. But as Feng Hua begins to feel desperate in her situation, her vision is covered by a large green fire that quickly burns all the vines around her like an infernal flame, but causes no harm to her whatsoever. She knows that this is the ability of one of her teammates, so she doesn't miss the opportunity and uses a GU specially given to her by the clan leader to propel herself upwards and then glide in the air while she is several meters above the ground and can observe the battlefield in greater safety and peace. Finally, a little peace, now it will be like big broth. She is abruptly interrupted in the middle of her thoughts when she sees Chen Wei, who is thrown like a spear by Huangbi towards her, flying at a fast speed while activating a killer move that made him greatly famous on Longwushan Mountain. Feng Hua's eyes widen as she watches helplessly with an expression of horror, as she is sure that this is the most dangerous situation he has ever faced, but she would be lucky to be saved at the last moment. So you finally acted, he. Chen Wei thinks to himself as he hears a loud and deafening noise as if the end of the world were approaching him, but he knows that this is an attack that would put a large portion of people in despair, being able only to accept their deaths. Mortal killer move, wind that pierces the heavens. This feared and famous killer move makes its way towards Chen Wei while being obstructed by various attacks from GU masters of the Heian clan, who plan to weaken it as much as possible. But even so, the moment the killer move reaches Chen Wei, he uses his own killer move against the killer move that advances against him before gets hit, which makes him feel like he feels as if the very heavens were falling upon him, trying to kill him with the force of the attack launched by several meters, almost to the end of the battlefield. But as Chen Wei weakly staggers to get up, he has neither an expression of fear nor shock on his face, but rather a big smile as he looks at the piercer of the heavens, who has a great wound inflicted by Chen Ming attacking him relentlessly, not giving him a moment to breathe. In a battle between experts, even the smallest mistake and distraction is fatal. From the beginning, this was the reason he fought so hard with Feng Hua, trying to put her in a life or death situation that forced her brother to act to save her, thus distracting him and making him commit small errors. This, judging by the great disadvantage the piercer of the heavens finds himself in now facing Chen Ming, was the best battle plan Chen Ming could have devised to take advantage of the situation they found themselves in. Piercer of the heavens, may today be the day of your death. Chen Wei murmurs softly as he increases his conviction to eliminate this fierce enemy once and for all. Well, I have one thing to talk about this time. I recommend everyone read these two fanfics by Reverend Insanity. Reverend Insanity, Savage Truth has 7 chapters for now. Reverend Insanity, Insatiable has 27 chapters for now. Both are written by Forthamems and are very good despite the fact that the first is set in an alternative world matriarchal to the GU world and the second is a world where Re is a super-realistic VR MMORPG game and also has changes from the novel, but I guarantee that for now both are great. Cowardly piece of shit, stop running. Chen Ming shouts at the top of his lungs as he chases Piercer of the Heavens, who is desperately trying to retreat and escape from this battle that he has already lost. Behind Chen Ming, there is a great furious water current, the effect of the rank 1 water stream, propelling him rapidly towards his enemy like a shark advancing towards its prey. The pride of the Feng Ji clan, who would have thought that in the end, you were just a coward who only knew how to intimidate the weak. With a wave of his hand, 2 large waves of water surge from nowhere on the ground, one on each side of him, attacking Piercer of the Heavens, crossing towards his chest. Piercer of the Heavens quickly uses 2 small whirlwinds, one in each hand, to block the advance of the waves towards his chest while ignoring Chen Ming's provocations, which aim to make him irritated and commit errors that would lead to his death. After defending himself from the 2 furious waves attacking him, Piercer of the Heavens finds himself having to put both hands in front of a strong water jet attacking directly towards his chest, causing him to constantly recoil due to the force of the water jet created by Chen Ming. Shit, where are the reinforcements? Now, Piercer of the Heavens murmurs softly after the water jet has dispersed, and he now finds himself amidst a thick mist of water covering a large perimeter around the battle, obstructing his vision slightly. But Piercer of the Heavens, concerned that this might be Chen Ming's strategy to obstruct the cooperation of his allies, quickly dissipates when all this mist begins to rise into the air to form a rain cloud that quickly begins to create water darts aimed at attacking him. As he begins to dodge the attacks coming towards him, he can see both the female GU master, who appears to be little over 30 years old, controlling the clouds to attack him. And also Chen Ming, who is now advancing towards him quickly, closing the now long distance caused by being pushed away by the water jet, and because Chen Ming has to remain immobile while using this attack. Fortunately for Piercer of the Heavens, he would at least have some help with one of these problems when a large tree, which in less than 10 moments goes from being a small sprout to being an imposing colossus, emerges and uses its branches to block the water darts falling from the rain clouds. Piercer of the Heavens then has a moment to breathe and plan his actions, knowing that this tree was created by one of the GU masters of the Feng Ji clan, who is an expert in creating fortifications using the wood path. But as quickly as he created this living wooden fortification using the rank 2 Elder Tree GU, Piercer of the Heavens sees a trace of scarlet blood rapidly heading towards the wood path GU master, passing through some GU masters and wounding them before reaching his target and starting a furious fight. You little bastard. Piercer of the Heavens grits his teeth but cannot continue paying attention to Chen Wei's advances because his brother, who is a much greater threat to him, is now just a few meters away from him. This situation in which Piercer of the Heavens finds himself, surrounded and attacked by many at once, is common in battles between GU masters and even among mortals who also have their conflicts but on a much smaller scale compared to GU masters. Whether he likes it or not, this is part of the unfair nature of this world, because what warrior capable of using numerical advantage would declare words of honor and demand a solitary duel against his enemies, needlessly putting his life at risk when he can have an easy battle if, together with his allies, anyone would choose to fight a battle of 10 against 1. I've got you, don't even think about continuing to run, you cowardly piece of shit. Chen Ming, without wasting any time, attacks Piercer of the Heavens using rank 2 Water Bite GU, creating a large shark head made of water that opens its mouth full of sharp teeth, as large as daggers, before biting the entire body of Piercer of the Heavens and firing several water bullets to slow down the advance of GU masters from the Feng Ji clan who come to help him. Piercer of the Heavens, seeing that in this situation either he escapes or he may end up dying, uses a killer move that he has been practicing and trying to learn after becoming a rank 3 GU master and gaining a greater understanding of wind path. Mortal killer move, Blade Hurricane. He quickly spins his body at an incredible speed while blades created by furious winds appear around him, not only resisting the water bite GU but even completely destroying the water shark head that tried to bite him, going as far as to cause small injuries to Chen Ming, who was near the killer move despite his defenses. Thus, Piercer of the Heavens quickly creates a distance from Chen Ming while retreating, but his physical state is now considerably worse than before, since suddenly using a killer move that he had not fully learned made him make mistakes, causing various self-inflicted injuries. Seeing his own lamentable physical state, he uses the rank 2 Lotus Vitality, which has a single use but can heal a large portion of a GU master's injuries as long as he is still below rank 4 and does not have a mortal wound. Now I just have to get to the Prepa. As he tries to retreat to the place he wants, he finds himself surrounded by a web-like net made of a transparent flowing water, hindering his movement. You know, this old man has always been praised a lot for being a great fisherman in, what do you think, Junior Piercer of the Heavens? Po Neo speaks mockingly but still exudes the air of an elder despite now looking more like an poor old Chinese fisherman because of the fishing rod he carries on his shoulders. Damn old man. Despite these being Piercer of the Heavens thoughts, he does not waste his time trying to fight Po Neo, who was once a rank 3 elder of the Heian clan in the past but now, due to a severe injury, has a cultivation of rank 2 peak stage. Piercer of the Heavens quickly searches and finds a weaker spot in the midst of the various water nets and advances to use this weaker region to escape before Po Neo can react. But just as he is about to use this weakness to escape, he feels a hand grabbing his foot, and before he can react to it, a fat man with a flushed face like that of a drunkard emerges from the ground and places his hand on Piercer of the Heavens' belly. Shit. Piercer of the Heavens' eyes widen as he guesses the actions of the fat man named Ya Chun, whom he knows well from numerous battles against Chen Ming's team. And in less than a moment, as Piercer of the Heavens feared, he feels the connection with one of the GU in his aperture being completely lost as if it had never existed. To make matters worse, it was the rank 2 wind steps that he was constantly using to move, which leads him to suffer a strong negative reaction as he begins to cough up a little blood due to internal injuries. Wind steps, despite being my movement GU, I was lucky, it wasn't a vital GU to my plan. Piercer of the Heavens thinks while desperately trying to heal, then sees the fat man running extremely fast for someone of his size and how drunk he must be. Drunken thief GU. He murmurs softly, looking at Ya Chun, who runs without looking back or trying to attack him, while gritting his teeth, but before he can murmur anything else more, he sees Chen Ming approaching him like lightning. Quickly, large waves of water surge again as they begin to attack Piercer of the Heavens, who with each passing moment finds himself in a more precarious situation, to the point where he himself believes that this could possibly be his moment of death. To make his situation even more desperate, he is hit once again by a water jet towards his torso, but this time his defense does not hold completely, causing him to receive a serious injury to his abdomen as he is thrown far away by the force of the attack before falling to the ground, which does not stop his body from being dragged several meters further by the force of Chen Ming's attack. Thus, the great and glorious Piercer of the Heavens finds himself in a precarious and pathetic state as he hears GU masters from both sides advancing both to save him and to kill him once and for all. Cough cough, but it seems that the heavens are on my side today. Despite his situation, after seeing where he was thrown due to Chen Ming's attack, he has a cruel smile on his face, although no one can see it for now. Now it's your time to finally die, Piercer of the Heavens. This was a war cry that he heard several times coming from the GU masters of the Heian clan, but in just one moment, all these cries stopped suddenly. Ha 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 ha, I won in the end. He staggers as he gets up with difficulty and faces the GU masters of the Heian clan, who have expressions of despair on their faces. So, cough, tell me what you think of this formation. Chen Wei, who advanced to the front line to kill Piercer of the Heavens, has a complicated expression on his face as he wonders when this formation was set up and how the GU masters of the Heian clan were ignorant of it until now, besides imagining how strong it could be. Unfortunately for Chen Wei, he, like Chen Ming and many other GU masters of the Heian clan, would quickly discover that they were in the worst possible scenario because they soon felt a great pressure coming from the sky as strong winds emerged and attacked everyone there, even quickly killing courageous rank 1 GU masters who were at the forefront of the advance. Chen Wei himself feels a greater pressure than any he has ever felt in his life, with the killing intent alone being enough to frighten someone with a weak spirit, but now the killing intent is the least of his worries, as the relentless onslaught of attacks that never seem to end is a much greater concern. But soon Chen Wei would discover that the pressure on him was even moderate compared to the constant attacks he saw being directed at Chen Ming, who by this point no longer had any semblance of his human form and now was like a monster made of water. This is the effect of the rank 3 water demon, which can grant a GU master who uses it a form of greater immunity to most attacks, as well as bestow upon the GU master rank 3 primeval essence, in addition to increasing the power of any water path GU used by them. However, it has the negative effect that if used for too long, it will permanently transform the GU master into this state. So you didn't want me to fight, well, here I am, but I ask you, how long will you last? Piercer of the Heavens roars furiously, ignoring his own injuries and continuing to wave his hand to attack relentlessly, each of these gestures causing deep wounds as he cruelly pierces the body of Chen Ming, who is now entirely made of water like a ferocious beast. Despite this furious and imposing appearance he presents, the sacrifice he had to make to activate this formation with such force was not insignificant. With his cultivation now at rank 3 initial stage, he has lost a small realm of cultivation, the primeval essence in his aperture, which previously could reach 92%, now cannot exceed 77%, and anyone who looked at his face could imagine he is about 10 years older. Such is the decree of the heavens, and the same goes for him. There are no great powers without great sacrifice, but he is more than willing to do this sacrifice to kill Chen Ming. Soon Chen Ming is on the brink of death when a blue light shines and heals his body to a nearly fully recovered state, this being the effect of the rank 2 Fountain of Youth, which is one of the most valuable rank 2 GU because, as demonstrated here, it can save a GU master from the brink of death instantly, but unfortunately, it can only be used once. Cough cough, I have little time. Coughs Piercer of the Heavens, seeing his state, which, despite improving due to the healing GU masters of the Feng Ji clan, is still not good, and also seeing how well Chen Ming is resisting his attacks while the GU masters of the Heian clan attack the battle formation both from within and without and are close to finally destroying it, he decides with conviction. So he stops all his attacks on other GU masters and focuses all of them on Chen Ming and Chen Wei while trying to kill both of them before the formation is broken. Soon Chen Wei feels a pressure greater than any he has ever felt in this life, with the intent to kill alone being enough to terrify someone with a weak spirit, but now the intent to kill was the least of his worries, as the torrential onslaught of deadly attacks that seem never to end is a much greater concern. Soon, in just a few moments, both the various blood shields around him and his blood armor collapse at the same time that the formation collapses amid the attack of Chen Wei's allies. But that doesn't change the fact that Chen Wei is still under the onslaught of attacks, and as he quickly feels several gigantic wounds in his body that expose his internal organs and bones like an animal on the slaughter table, which would make anyone consider him already dead. Even the members of the Heian clan who saw him considered the same, but suddenly a strong blue light shines, and Chen Wei's body is greatly healing despite minor injuries to his chest. This is, of course, the effect of the rank 2 fountain of youth that Chen Wang had given to both him and Chen Ming. Die already, you bastard. Piercer of the heavens, seeing that he is still alive, attacks with even more fervor, hoping to kill Chen Wei before his allies can arrive to save him. Then, shortly after Chen Wei manages to stabilize himself on his 2 feet, he feels a large piercing in his rib, causing his condition to return to the precarious situation it was before, and he already sees an even larger attack coming towards his face too quickly for him to dodge in this physical state, besides having all his defensive GU already destroyed or injured. So this is how I'm going to die. He feels great anger and hatred, as well as a little fear, none of the calmness and lack of regret that Fang Yuan presented in the novel. But before this thought of his could materialize, he feels his head being forcefully pulled out of the path of the attack by something with great force before his body is swiftly dragged across the ground away from the battle by something that seems like a rope around his neck. This twist shocks both Chen Wei and everyone else as they now see a large albino rat, unnoticed by any of them before, dragging Chen Wei out of the battlefield while holding him by the tail and running and squeaking frantically. Chen Ming. Chen Wei murmurs before falling unconscious, looking at his brother's body, which is completely destroyed and pierced, with limbs separated from his torso, almost unrecognizable even to Chen Wei, his brother, as he is carried away by Ya Chun, who runs while crying loudly like a weeping drunkard. For more thrilling fanfiction stories like this, check out my channel Fanfic Audiobook. Dive into epic adventures, mysterious realms, and legendary journeys brought to life through immersive storytelling. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing audiobooks.